we brothers or something?
Oh, what happened there?
Oh, my God.
I don't know. Like, every time I talk to Florentine, I saw him at the Patrice benefit. We're, like, very similar, man.
Are you wearing the same shit today?
Kinda.
I know. I got a
kind of the same style.
So I don't. Yeah, now I'm gonna have another kid because of you.
Oh man.
Are you really?
No, I'm not. But I'm just saying.
Oh, I thought you were announcing something.
Wait,
here.
I talked you into another kid?
No, well, you're
what,
saying
are you nuts?
we're each other.
No, I'm loving it. But someone said, you guys look like you could be related.
It's the same fucking shirt.
This happens a lot when we get together and talk. We can relate to each other on some weird level.
Blue plaid.
Nah, but it's blue and white plaid, buttoned up to the top. Opie has no buttons.
But this is like a flannel. I don't know.
Yeah,
Opie's probably expensive.
Yeah,
I
that's
got
more
this
of
at
a
Old
dress
Navy.
shirt.
No, I don't know where this was.
Maybe the new Navy you got yours from.
Fucking go to break on that one.
Whoa, hey.
I was in North Carolina. Of course, in Charlotte, they're talking about fucking Florentine when I get
The legend?
there. Yeah, and it's always interesting. And they tell me at the news station, you cut a gas. Where did you fly when you were on the air?
No, it was a local TV news that we had to do in the morning. This was like 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago.
No! And they remember it.
Yeah, they remember it because it was right when they were, they went into the segment. And
man!
And I was standing right by the camera guys there, and I just let one go, and everybody, even the cameramen, turned around, which probably fucked up their shots because they had to go to a 2-shot or a long shot. And the people on even the hosts on the couch looked around like, what the hell was that? Never not funny.
Never not funny is right. That's got to be weird. You guys follow each other in and out of these cities, huh?
Yeah, it's always funny when I'm coming.
There's always
like
some kind of story, you know, they relate to you when you come into town.
I like it, though, because it's something to talk. You know, you have such a history together that it's always something to talk about. It's like a good jumping-off place to talk about Florentine because, we know each other so well.
That's great.
I told the club owner, I said, please, Jim's coming here in 3 weeks. Please tell him that story.
Nice.
That's what I kept, and I even texted him like a week ago. Remember to tell Jim that story.
He told me that on the way from the airport to the hotel. That's right. Like, yeah, Florentine, almost before he forgot. Make sure he told me.
So, second kid, maybe?
No.
Oh, I thought you said I talked you into it.
No, I'm just saying you said we're alike, so next thing I know now.
Okay, yeah. Well, second kid, that's a lot more work. You think you have a lot of work now?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons, no.
One of the reasons.
Couldn't imagine.
I just can't even imagine.
Can't fathom any of that. I mean, I know a lot of people that have kids, and that's fine and dandy. They bring them over to the house. It's fine. I'm not like, get that kid out of here. But I couldn't imagine having to be responsible for something. Oh, God, or not being able to do something, or not just being able to sleep. Like, if I'm on the couch and I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to crap out for 3 hours. Boom. And not have to worry that some little fucking life form's going to stick a tweezer in the socket or something,
I know. My son just stuck a Tic Tac in my ear yesterday.
Oh, that's good.
I almost had to go to the emergency room.
Jesus.
My wife had to take it out. Yeah, with tweezers. I was just laying there and he was messing around my ear. And he dropped one in there and it went way in the back. I'm trying to pull it out.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
How old's your kid?
2.5.
Yeah, we're right around the same age, our sons. They're dangerous, right?
Yeah.
I'm worried about getting a broken nose or a concussion or get knocked out by this thing.
It is cool. Like that. There's moments where, like, he'll just hang me on the couch, like your buddy.
Yeah.
Those are great moments. But there's a lot. It's almost like dating like a fucking drama queen, like a complete disaster. She's amazing in bed. She brings chicks home. You have threesomes. The fucking for like an hour and a half is unbelievable, out of control. But then pretty much the rest of the day is a disaster. You're just cleaning up messes
all day long. There's no reasoning or anything. Fuck. I lost my 65-inch TV. He played T-ball in the living room. And I just gave up. I gave up last week because the whole family's been sick. The audience is sick of this story, but I got to just tell you real fast part of it. The whole family's sick at the same time, so I just let my guard down and said, do whatever you want. I don't care. I'm so sick. So he set up his T-ball in the living room and line drived it right into my 65-inch TV.
With that wood, was it the yellow wooden ball with the smiley face on it that somebody tweeted?
Some chick tweeted, she goes, is this the ball? Because I kind of described it on the air.
But you didn't describe it that much.
No,
she knew
I didn't. It's the exact fucking ball that he put on the tee. A tiny little. It's a little bigger than maybe a golf ball, but it's hard as shit with a jingly thing inside.
It's probably our housekeeper. She's probably the one that called in with it. Like, was that the one?
Yeah. So now I got to get a and that TV I just got. And I don't think we talked about it Friday. I don't think you can fix these new fucking flat screens
like that. Just you get a
I don't
new
think
one.
You can.
You got to hang them high, man, so he doesn't hit
I'm
it
going,
up that high.
and I started
and then
thinking
he does a fucking pop fly. And,
well, I'm starting to think it was a little too low because he started dragging his toys against it and stuff.
A line shot up the middle. That one right into the screen.
Right.
That's going to cost Opie.
Oh fuck. Have you lost anything yet?
No, not really.
Nothing valuable yet?
Wow.
You call me when it
I hide
happens.
shit. I know, man. I'm 2 steps ahead of them all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I could fucking. I should be able to outsmart a 2.5-year-old. I should.
You think?
I do, and I fucking know every move he's gonna make. I go, don't fucking put this here because he's gonna grab my phone if it's on the edge. So you stick it in the middle.
Right.
I got him. I'm 1 step ahead of him.
Yeah. You gotta be.
My
Holy
wife,
shit.
not so much. She still leaves her shit laying around. I'm like, you're crazy.
Every time
my laptop, my phone, everything is just like Jim's saying. Now, but he gets up on the tall tables now, so now I'm going even higher. My shit is way up in cupboards and stuff.
That's what my ex would do with candy, because my ex was 5'9", and I'm a little shorter. I literally just found, we broke up a year and a half ago, I just found candy on the top shelf that she used to hide from me.
So she treats you like a little kid?
It was fucking humiliating. I had to get up and get something out of there, and I realized she had hidden candy. I was like,
she hid it from you, or she?
From me, yeah. Because she knew that I would eat it if I saw it. Like,
and she wanted
trying
candy.
not to. So she wanted candy, and she hid it on the top shelf. I just found it so funny. Jimmy.
That's great.
Twerp I am.
That's
Did
great.
you eat it when you found it?
No, but there was some bubble gum I ate. The candy I threw out, but the bubble gum I ate. There was some like really good sugary bubble gum.
Very happy Florentine's here, and one of the reasons Jim is here, besides the fact we haven't seen you in a while, is that David Lee Roth's coming in. So we figured you'd help us out with that.
Yeah.
I talked to David Lee Roth years ago on the phone. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind
How'd
of
that
guy
go?
he is anymore. It was like just a normal, kind of rock interview.
He seems like a fun guy.
Oh, he totally is.
He seems like he's into partying. That's his whole
I mean, we had some weird history because we both worked for the same company.
He knows how radio goes.
Well, I used to run into his manager. I ran into his manager at an Allman Brothers show. And
managers are never a reflection of the personality.
I hope not, because this guy knew exactly, the history between us and David Lee Roth.
He was pissed because that's money came out of his fucking pocket. David Lee Roth is like, I don't care. I still got Van Halen money coming in.
Yeah, we took over for David Lee Roth. We never had an actual issue with him.
No, they fired him and hired us. Who the fuck are we to say no?
He only lasted like 4 months, right? And they got,
What are we going to say? No, we don't want to take the job because we don't want to make it seem like David Lee Roth wasn't doing a good job on the radio. Right. I'd like to go into K-Rock and do a radio show, but nah.
We did all right.
No loyalties in fucking this dumbass business.
We did all right,
for sure.
They just couldn't figure that out because we were. They desperately wanted us out of our XM contract to do full speed ahead for K-Rock
full time. Yeah,
but they could only get a piece of us, so it was a weird fucking. Yeah, that was a weird deal.
And imagine if we had gotten out of the XM contract, we would have been on there, and if they would have fucking something would have happened, or the show would not still be on regular radio.
Probably not.
Absolutely not.
But they want us badly, and they had to work around that XM contract, which meant, very long days, and we had to split our time. And
those shitheads, they wanted a different producer for the K-Rock show than the XM show. They were so territorial, those fuckheads.
They didn't want us in the same studio, in one studio for both the shows.
I still tell people we did all right, considering.
I liked that walkover thing. That was
the walkover was a lot of fun.
Yeah, there were a few of them that are classics, man.
Yeah.
And then a few that were just a pain in the ass walk in the freezing fucking cold. We're supposed to be like talking. It's like, I got nothing to say. I'm just going to run and go to the studio. This sucks.
One of the more unusual fucking deals in radio.
Some of the
really strange. We weren't even allowed to do the show from one place because both companies were so territorial.
Yep.
And it's like, do you understand that you guys are both showing your big dicks and we're the ones that suffer in the end?
We're in the middle.
Because I was yelling and screaming at the time going, you guys got to get together. They don't want to talk to each other and figure this shit out. There's no way we should stop the momentum so we can walk to another studio to continue the show. It was ridiculous.
Should have done the whole show from the XM studio.
Yeah, whatever.
Nice and big,
and then send somebody over. You got a guy, you send them over. You want a guy to look out for
They just didn't want to hear it. They didn't want to hear it.
That fucking every time we do the walkover, and Jimmy would go to the newsstand and ask the guy for a Honcho magazine.
Oh, yeah, buy
copy of
from this one guy.
And the guy's just like, yes, smiling. Like,
Uncut Black Inches.
That was it. Black Inches.
Black Inches, right.
Well, supposedly that was Dave's problem with K-Rock back then, because he wanted to do the show from different places. He was always traveling. He said, let me go to Vegas, and you know, I'm hanging with these bands. I'll do the show right from there, from a studio.
Sure.
I'm all over the place. And they were like, no, you have to do it from this studio in New York.
They were obsessed
at 6 a.m. every day.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Well,
Why?
that's what happened to regular radio. They couldn't think out of the box anymore. You know? Whatever.
Yeah.
No, they were
so it'll be good to see David Lee Roth. I've never met him in person. So.
He used to hang out at the Comedy Cell all the time, watch the comics.
Yeah.
I met him years ago. I got a picture with me. Did I ever show you my picture with fucking Roth?
No.
I'm sure you have it.
Yeah,
I have one of with Dave, too. I met one.
Yeah?
Yeah, I didn't get any at the Comedy Cellar because he was just hanging. So I didn't want to bother him, but
And Van Halen is back together again, right? They took that time off, but they're in Europe or something?
They're
I
doing
saw
some
dates
shows in
Europe.
Australia.
Australia, was it?
How crazy does he look?
Hey.
He's fucking nuts.
And they're doing one. They're doing one in the States so far in the summer in Wisconsin. Some big rock.
What
fest,
happened with the band? It was a little sketchy and shady when they canceled all those shows.
Well, because they probably, you know, it was ticket sales because they already did a whole tour like 8 months, and they were going back to the markets basically after that, and the tickets were pretty high. So I think it was probably a little soft. So they said, let's just put it off for a little while. And then Eddie got sick. Eddie got this stomach problem.
Is he all right?
Yeah, he has to rest for like 6 to 8 months. Supposedly he's better now. Yeah, it begins with a D.
Diverticulitis.
Yeah.
Oh, that shit is a motherfucker.
Yeah, so he was laid up pretty much for like they said 6 to 8 months before he could start.
What is that?
touring
Like
again.
a folded intestine or something?
It's got some. I think it's a perforated piece of your intestine. That's what Brock Lesnar had. And depending on level of seriousness, they have to take some out and give you a shit bag, or can you just eat leafy food and stuff like that and heal it a certain way? Like Dr. Steve would know, obviously. Yeah, it's diverticulitis. But do you eat that from too much nuts or like too many? I eat a lot of fucking almonds, which is bad.
Yeah, that's really bad. It's
What if the nuts
to
are just across the bridge of your nose?
Well, then you're just a good boy. Diverticulitis, that's what he had.
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah, that's a fucking nasty one. Takes people out for a while.
Yeah, I can fuck you up
Jesus,
good.
maybe that's what the Queen had. And she was fucking.
She had the shits.
Those old Queen shits must have been horrible.
You think you could handle an old Queen fart?
An old Queen.
Yeah, if you can have Norton's farts, you can handle anybody's.
Yes.
Ugh.
Yeah, I've had some fucking
the
goings.
Queen mum.
The
She's there just fucking. Just runny shits in that bed, in the royal bedpan.
fucking bitch never smiles.
No.
She's got the life and never smiles.
She has a rotten old twat, isn't she?
I think so.
Just a no personality, rotten old twat.
Yeah, she's
Yeah, but those
living in another
Brits are
time.
always cranky. They're known to be. Any British rock guy, they're all just miserable and they're cranky. They need a few belts in them before they before they warm up. Yeah, and they start smiling. They're all like that. They go to the pub at 5 o'clock. 5:05. They're fucking pounding beers.
Yeah.
If they don't have their beers in them, they're miserable.
You good drunks?
That's hilarious.
No one works overtime in England. They're 9 to 5. That's
Right
it.
to the bar.
Only in America we work till like 11 o'clock. They go right to the bar.
Right to the pub.
Right to the pub, and then they go home at 10 o'clock and pass out. Go do it again the next day.
Jesus.
Unbelievable. The stupid soda ban goes into effect tomorrow. Did you
That's
hear about the coffee shit, Jimmy?
This is
We did this whole thing
unbelievable.
Friday. Everyone was talking about, the sugary drink ban, what they're banning, the big sodas and all that. And then it comes out, which it didn't come out this way when this was first presented to the public.
No one talked about coffee. It was all about the big. Actually, all you thought it was is the big 2-liter bottles of soda you weren't going to be able to buy anymore.
No, the
and then
cups.
And then it turned out that it was the cups. And then it turned out it's everything with sugar in it.
Everything. So it's affected all the coffee drinkers. Dunkin' Donuts will no longer put sugar in your coffee. You have to do it yourself. Starbucks is only allowed to put 4 packets of sugar in every drink. So all their sugary fucking coffee drinks, they can only make it
in
part
small
way.
And they can make smalls and do it. But then you got to pump your own flavored syrup.
Starbucks has got to figure it out. They might have it where you pump your own syrups and all that shit now. It's disgusting what this mayor's doing.
Yeah, he's a fucking cunt.
We talked about it before the show. I mean, the amount of people that this is going to actually help is so minuscule, it's unbelievable, but everyone has to be affected.
How about you just fucking people make their own decisions? And again, if you want to go after obesity, target the insurance. If you weigh this much or if your body mass is this much, we will not cover you.
Oh, and then there's discrimination.
That's how you do it, though.
I know, that's how they should, but they'll never do it that way. Absolutely.
Never do it that way.
The people that are going to drink themselves to death with all that soda, most of those people will never change their ways. You might get a tiny percentage of those people, living a healthier lifestyle, but the amount of people that have to suffer because of that, it's just disgusting.
Wait, but a large latte at Starbucks puts like 5 or 6 pumps of
syrup in there, sugar syrup,
in there.
right?
So what are they going to do now?
They're trying to figure it out.
But I thought it was only over 16 ounces, though. Any cup that's over...
Yeah,
they have a 20-ounce at Starbucks that they probably won't be able to sell anymore. But at 16, they can't put their own
the
syrup
Ventis and all that shit.
Yeah, then you gotta do it yourself. And
why would you have to... I didn't know it was a sugar ban.
No one did.
No
this
one
came
really
out
did.
of left field.
No one really did.
Oh, so they snuck it in like one of those
little... Like they always do. They sneak that shit in.
Yeah.
And now... first of all, the Dunkin' Donuts thing's ridiculous because you could buy a dozen donuts, shove them all down your face, but they can't sell you a coffee with 4 teaspoons of sugar in it.
He shouldn't even be the mayor.
No!
It was a 2-time, this fucking cocksucker did some backdoor stuff, got things approved, and got himself elected a 3rd time.
There's a woman.
Sickening.
There's a woman that just threw her fucking big lesbian hat into the ring.
Who, Quinn?
For, what?
Christine
Is that
Quinn?
her? Christine Quinn?
Well, you can't just call her a lesbian.
No,
fuck.
I think she is.
Oh. Well, make sure you get the name right.
She fucking had a little statement yesterday that I heard on the news. Could be the worst voice I've ever heard in my life. This is harkening back to like Bella Abzug. Her. Is this it? Crank her up.
Yeah, what are we looking for here?
They are. How, in the best of all possible ways, crazy they are. How much they love New York.
This ain't
and
her.
How hard they fight.
Find the dykey woman.
New York is every
Who is she? It ain't her then. It ain't Christine Quinn. What the fuck is it? It was and she's yelling like, and I'm going to go through every single borough. I'm going to be walking with you. It was terrible.
Walking with us. Shut up. That old gag.
Can't be her. She's like a lesbian or something. That's what they said. What happened?
She might be a lipstick lesbian.
I think they said she'd be the first gay New York mayor, so I think you're right.
It's her? Well, she didn't sound like that. Maybe when she's talking out of doors and not in front of a camera on
she has to raise the voice a little bit.
Yeah, put that goofy music on.
Is this it? Yeah, maybe.
All right.
God damn it. Stupid fucking internets.
You think
and the guy that tries to search for things.
Will she bring back the big soda? We look like assholes to the rest of the country.
We look like
assholes,
idiots,
man. Here.
Yeah.
But supposedly those 7-Elevens still can sell a big gulp. And 7-Elevens in New York City are still, I don't know, they're exempt from that because I don't know exactly why.
They fall under state law.
Yeah, so you could still go into 7-Eleven in New York City and get a 32-ounce big gulp.
So that's where all the people are going to go. Oh, that's so dumb.
Yeah. Iraq comment.
How does this shit get passed?
There's some articles after we talked about it on Friday that Starbucks is not going to follow the ban.
Yeah, Starbucks said, fuck it, they're going to wait and see what happens in court. There's a $200 fine for every occurrence. Can you believe you can be fined $200 in New York City for serving someone coffee? It's ludicrous.
It also applies to pizza delivery. You can't order a 2-liter with the pizza now.
That is so fucking this billionaire cunt affecting people's business.
He doesn't understand how. He doesn't understand. You order the soda for the fucking people sharing the fucking pizza usually.
But meanwhile,
you're going to get a guy that eats a whole pizza and drinks all the soda himself, but not.
So now you got to order a bunch of different cans. Then I guess
probably cans or that 1 liter that they.
But
make.
he sponsors the Nathan event every year, which just does nothing but fucking promote gluttony.
Right.
There's so many hypocrisies in this this stupid legislation. You shouldn't legislate fucking people drinking soda or coffee. That's it. The government should not be in your life so much as you can't buy a cup of fucking coffee the way you want it made.
I thought this was the land of the free.
Oh, please. Free schmee. We are not fucking free.
Not even close.
Get a grip.
They're now telling us how much soda we can drink in America. How ridiculous
We're
is it?
free here to do anything we want.
Are we?
Yay! What a free nation that we... And then you get a fat fucking cunt, effeminate prick like that mayor telling you can't get a large coffee sweet. I want my coffee light and sweet. No!
What happened to light and sweet?
Light and sweet is now fucking, the scourge of Manhattan.
Right. I do like the calorie counts on things, though.
Yeah, informing people is one thing.
Informing is fine.
Then you make the decision.
I was surprised by half that shit when I started seeing calories on the menu. I'm like, God damn.
Yeah, 500 for a fucking low-fat muffin? Jesus.
And then you get the other mayors in other cities like, well, I think, I want to do that. And they do it, and then they take it a little further, to be the next mayor that does something. That's how we lose our fucking freedoms, by letting them get away with shit like this in the first place.
Just ignore it. I like the fact that Starbucks is just going to ignore it. Just ignore it.
Are they really going to ignore it, E-Rock?
There was a thing on NBC.
Because New York City loves giving out tickets and making money, so trust me, they'll be out in force.
Oh, yeah.
Of course. Giving out those $200 tickets that Ant was talking about.
See, it doesn't really bother me because I don't drink that much. I don't drink soda. I don't drink
any
those big coffees. So, but the one that bothered me when they did is happy hours, when they got rid of happy hours because they promoted drinking and driving.
Right? Yeah.
Did they?
Yeah, they did that a long time ago. They were like, you can't have a happy hour from 4 to 6. It had to be something. They used to give away like free beer, like it was $5 to get in, and it was free to drinks from like 4 to 6.
Nickel beers.
Nickel beers.
Right. Nickel beers.
Used to go out with like $10 and get wings and a shitload of beer.
By the bar.
Holy fuck.
There was clubs in Jersey that like from 8 to 10 it'd be free drinks. It was $10 to get in. Free drinks from 8 to 10. So like 9:55, you go, let me have 40 Bacardi Cokes. Because they give you in those little plastic cups. You just line them up and just hand them to chicks. Hey, you want a drink here? After that.
It was kind of insane.
It's great.
But
would you go to those?
Of course. Absolutely. Well, they were like dance clubs. They were awful. They played, but I didn't care. It was free drinks, and you get chicks hammered, and you don't have to pay for their drinks.
And then didn't they do away with ladies' night, too? Like, they had ladies' night, and then they said that was a problem because, discrimination. Because you'd go to a bar that had ladies' night, and it was just all fucking girls.
Why was it discrimination?
Free.
What asshole got
involved
involved
with men's night?
Who the fuck started that shit?
A fucking homer. I'm sure a queeb.
A quay?
A quay. Enough.
Who would bitch about ladies' night?
So much good shit goes to the wayside because of fucking assholes. Just assholes. Fuck up all the fun.
That's sad.
I love that.
Yeah, ladies' nights were fun. You always used to find out where the ladies' night was.
Ladies.
Oh, ladies.
Yeah, you'd go to a fucking ladies' night. They're all hammered, drinking for free.
Or they used to have the Chippendale dancers.
Oh, God.
So they'd open the doors like 10 to the men, so you'd have to get there right at 10 o'clock.
Right.
So you were fresh meat, so you can get the one that's all horned up right away.
They're all juiced up.
Yeah, you don't want to get there later.
You had to get there right there at the proper time.
You don't want to be there like after where there's only the fat broads left.
Yeah.
We'd be waiting online, waiting for the door to open. We'd be like third in line, like run in there. All right.
It's like
who's sucking my dick?
One of those shopping sprees. Run in.
Like you're going for a wedding dress.
Right. It was like fucking Black Friday.
Right.
As soon as they opened the doors.
Sam, you have that clip of Christine Quinn
let's take
announcing
a look. For New York City?
Yeah.
Christine Quinn is officially running for mayor.
The middle class is squeezed in New York, but I know I'm the best person working with all of New York's 8.4 million people to make this happen. Thank you.
The 46-year-old city council speaker is taking her message on a walk and talk tour throughout the 5 boroughs.
I need to go out there today and every day and prove to New Yorkers that I can be the best person to work with them.
Her first stop was in Inwood, where she was asked about Mayor Bloomberg's controversial move to get a 3rd term.
But the term limits decision was a decision that I made with many of my colleagues at a moment in time when we were facing the worst economic crisis this city had seen since the Great Depression.
In Inwood, Monica Miller, WCBS.
Oh, she's fucking saying that she was for it?
She allowed him to do it.
The worst economic crisis. How about after 9/11 when everybody wanted Giuliani to perhaps extend a 3rd term to his mayor, and Bloomberg came out against that?
Right.
Fuck Bloomberg.
Well, the soda
Enough
ban.
for him.
That should be fun starting tomorrow. Completely ridiculous.
I should start fucking shipping some shit in from Long Island, smuggling.
That's
what about
right.
a little smuggling ring of fucking...
Let's do it.
Some soda. What do you want, man? 2 liter? Coke? Sprite? I got it. What do you need, man?
Diamond Davis here.
Oh, yeah.
All right, we should break before that. What were we going to say, Jim?
I'll say thank God Dice doesn't live in the city because he's Mr. Big Gulp.
Oh,
he gets the 44 ounces.
Well, the Big Gulp is legal.
Remember the first time we met Dice? He took us to 7-Eleven.
He took us to 7-Eleven and we got sodas.
He loves buying people things.
I think of him every time I drive by that 7-Eleven, which I do all the time.
But he demands that he buys you something you'll never use. Yeah. That always frustrates me.
You don't wear the Everlast hoodie that he bought us that were 20 sizes too big?
He gave me and Aunt big black hoodies. And I'm like, actually, it was a really nice hoodie. I'm like, cool. At the time, I was like a medium. Now probably a large. But Dice goes, no, you got to get triple XL.
You got to get them big.
We look like retards wearing these things. I never wore it.
He loves buying it.
And there was a large or a medium right there that I would have absolutely walked around with for a while.
No, he loves buying like 3X.
Oh yeah,
triple
but why
X,
do we
everything.
have to buy
them?
Because that's Dice. You gotta look like Dice.
Cut off the sleeves.
Yeah, negotiating with the guy. It was
of course.
So
he gets to the point where he'll go into a mall and he'll go in and like the sweats are like $20. He's like, can you give them to me for 10? And the guy's like, I can't, Dice. I give you my employee discount. He's like, oh, come on. He'll be bargaining for like an hour. He goes, let me come back, and then he'll go back. He'll like, this is great, isn't it? And I'm like, just pay the price. What do we do? So then he comes an hour later. He is on his knees. Please. Giving me for 10, please.
He does. The worst thing you can say is, "Hey, I'm a big fan," because in his mind it goes cha-ching. Load up, boys.
And you know that guy's actually paying for it in the end.
He's on his knees in a store, and everyone's like, "That's Dice Clay." He's like, "Please give it to me for 10, please."
Oh my God.
He walks around and he'll shop at a fortune off like he's at a Bangladeshi fucking marketplace. They don't bargain at those places.
Give me the pro deal. Give me the pro deal.
Yeah, what's the pro deal? What's that? We don't have a pro deal.
There's no such thing.
Everyone's got a pro deal. Give me the pro deal.
He made it up.
He made it up.
He made it up because he wants shit for free.
I know.
You want to break?
Yeah, we'll break and we'll get David Lee Roth in here next. Florentine, where are you going to be?
Levity Live this weekend.
Good club,
Nyack,
man.
New York.
I like what they're
Thursday
doing up
through
there.
Sunday, and then next weekend Stress Factory in New Brunswick.
Very cool. Okay, and Mr. Jim Florentine on Twitter. And we're back with Jim Florentine, who's going to be at Levity Live this weekend, March 14th through the 17th, and then Stress Factory down there in New Brunswick, New Jersey. Good old Vinny's place. It's now Vinny's Stress Factory.
Yeah, Vinny Brand Stress Factory.
Yeah, he had to put his name.
That?
No.
He had to put his name on everything.
Remember the slogan they had?
Your friends are right. This place is great.
Your friends are right. ... This place is great.
That was his slug line?
Yeah.
I used to tell him, I go, if I had any friends that said that, I wouldn't be friends with them anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the sign over Auschwitz. That would be terrible.
Wow. Where's David Lee Roth? The last minute
He's urinating, yes.
pee break. All right.
Oh, he had to go wee-wees?
Yes. That's very funny.
Whoa. Yes.
I'm going to be in Toledo, by the way, this week. I think it's the Funny Bones. This Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I'll be out in Ohio. My first trip ever to Toledo. And, of course, there's problems with with Boston. Like, I just...
What, for the big taping? Mm-hmm. What's the problem?
Just issues. Fucking issues.
Well, last time you couldn't do it because of the smoke, right?
Yeah.
The smoke machines.
Yeah, same thing.
Smoke machines?
Wait,
they don't want smoke machines in there?
It's the whole thing from the Rhode Island, the Great White Fire.
Yeah, but they're not fire smoke machines anymore.
But it's all...
They have to disconnect the smoke alarms to do them. And it's just a big thing, and it
might be a little close to the Great White thing.
I just did a benefit
Close
for them.
enough.
They're 10 years. That was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Was it?
I just did it this past Friday. Went down to Providence, did a show for them. A lot of people that were at the show showed up that are all messed up. And
whoa, really?
People that lost people.
That's
yeah, it's brutal.
Really?
Was the show good?
Dave.
It was great. Yeah, we did it. Yeah.
Dave!
David Lee Roth.
There he is.
What's going on, Dave?
Have fun. Take us. There he is. How you doing, man? Pleasure.
Good morning.
Opie, what's up,
Opie.
David?
It's Opie.
We've talked many times on the phone, but never in person,
This
sir.
is the first time in person.
That's right.
Yeah.
But on the phone a bunch over the years. And Jim
Absolutely.
Florentine in the corner there.
How you doing, Dave?
Good to see you.
You too, man.
I was listening to you fellas on the stereo coming in.
On the way in, of course.
Yeah. Just trying to get the whole vibe of the show?
Well, I kind of know what the vibe is.
We just ramble on for 4 hours.
It is a familiar vibe. It's kind of like breakfast with an unhappy family. First thing.
We are miserable bastards. We really are miserable to be around.
But there was a point in time when I was going through my rock climbing phase, and I get on the bike first thing in the morning and take off up to the rocks up in Central Park, and you guys would be on. And
shit.
Really?
It would be
just babbling about something or nothing.
Wait, what rocks were you climbing in Central Park?
Rat Rock is a big place. It's about house size. You don't go up, you go sideways.
Oh, okay.
Really?
Which is, perfect for my career.
Wait, I want to know where this place is in Central Park.
It's right at where the big arch is, Central Park West and whatever.
Okay.
You go in there. There's the softball diamonds that are there, and then just in from there is a big rock. It's about house size, and you can get a guidebook with little dots, little little Roadrunner dots that work, and it's graded.
Okay.
Of like going sideways, which I'm like basics, and I'll never get past. I'm a beginner forever, so 5.8 or 5.9, whatever that is, and it has that marked in little dots. Going to the left, and then up a little into the side. And the more difficult it gets, the colors change. I don't know what the colors are. I never got to another color.
Never knew they had that. Had that going on in there.
Not like Anthony.
What did I miss?
But Dave, you used to climb like on the Skyscraper album cover. You were climbing. I don't know what mountain that was.
I was used to being a Boy Scout who had an ex-gunnery sergeant from Korean War be our scoutmaster. Men, there's no such thing as bad weather, just shitty gear.
Right on.
And the oldest men was 12.
Treating you like soldiers out there, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow, that's
Everybody
brutal.
aimed north, good enough. Always saw as the back of the head. But I learned the great outdoors, the magic of the great outdoors. Especially in showbiz, we make our living like submarine commanders for the interior of the
you're inside
headquarters,
everywhere.
for the interior of the car, for the interior of the building. And
Right.
either that or a state's witness. That's what I feel like sometimes. So the outdoors becomes, even if it's just something you look at outside of a window.
I like being outside, but I never did the rock climbing, man. That's scary as shit.
Well, going straight up becomes, increasingly anxietous, if that's even the word.
Sure.
I go sideways. Get 1 or 2 feet off and start moving sideways. And we've been doing that since we were kids on brick walls.
That does sound kind of like the way to do it without
going too high.
Step off.
Cracking your skull open.
Oh, yeah. Come on.
Yeah.
I'm not an athlete. I'm a rock and roller who likes to get outside.
You must have spent years inside. Yeah, you must have spent like entire years where you saw nothing but hotel rooms, limos, and the venue.
I call it, I think you're accurate.
And vaginas.
Well, vaginas like light.
But you seem
shadings.
Right.
You see a whole new light on the subject.
But you seem like one of those guys, the little I know about you, that you would actually maybe go out and check out the town you're in.
I take my bicycles with me, and I still do.
Oh, okay.
You set up a mountain bike, but instead of like where you're hunched all forward, like you're like a monkey on a football. Sometimes it looks like when you're all just right forward. It's an uncomfortable position if you're not actually in the mountains, and we're never in the mountains. So you set it up with those beach cruiser handlebars, so you can sit up straight and tall, and look around
like a gentleman,
and see the world around. You go at half speed, and then
just chill out.
It's kind of a low rider approach.
It's gotta be hilarious though to be like, I think I just saw David Lee Roth ride by on a bicycle.
Oh yeah,
and people would be like, you're full of shit.
Yeah,
you're high.
You can trade that, easily. Easily. I've taken my bicycles all over the world. Now you can get a bicycle for $200, so you can actually go to Europe and buy one there. But it used to be we'd pack them up and take them with us virtually everywhere.
But Dave used to do that after tours. Like he'd do a big Van Halen tour for like 2 years and then go like live in a hut in Africa for like 3 months with no phone. This is in the 80s. There's no phones. There's no communication. The band's trying to track him down, and they're like, we don't know where he is. He's in some hut. He'll be back in October.
That bicycle, I've been living in Tokyo since the end of the last tour here, which was like the beginning of last summer.
I'm sure you don't stand out much there.
Same bicycle, same get around. I get around.
You just decided to live in Tokyo.
Yeah, let's take a shot at that. We've been looking at it through the back window of the car for so many years touring. Let's actually take a walk around from the inside out, get to know the folks.
And do you like it?
It's one of the most interesting travel experiences. I've probably been in over 250 cities in the United States alone.
Yeah.
And on my bicycle in most of them. Come on, this is our 35th anniversary.
Holy shit.
Is it? Yeah. It's if there's anything holy about us, it is that.
Wow. 35 years.
Yeah.
What do you like about Tokyo?
The food, you can pretty much Stevie Wonder it, and I got to keep to my crocodiets. It's like crocodiles eat just birds and foliage. It's pretty much just chicken and turkey and
is
whatever.
that it these days? Yeah,
whatever greens come with. But
do you eat sushi?
I do.
There's a place in Japan in the subway, that famous guy. Have you eaten at that place?
Jiro. There's probably 25 places that serve every bit as good as that. Do you guys like sushi?
Love
you like Japanese food?
Love it.
It's really simple, and it's not based on how big is the slice. It's just how fresh it really is. And that's why the guys are yelling when you come walking in. Everybody goes, "Oh, see what's happening!" It's supposed to make it seem like really immediate. It's like when you hear a siren and you look and you see rollers in the rearview mirror. It's like, no, right now. No, really. If you've ever wondered,
it makes perfect sense.
It's when they're hammering and doing like this.
Yeah.
Also, another thing when you come into a sushi bar, old school style, and there's a couple of them around here, where you'll see old ladders, one on each side of behind the bar where they have the big mirror, and they'll have a couple of old ladders, and they're wrapped with ropes and stuff like this, and it looks like ornamentation. Look for it, you'll see it. You know what those are for?
No idea.
That's old school. When you get a drunken samurai who's just out of his brain on sake, which is stronger than white wine, and he's swinging around that blade, how do you actually stop him without touching him? They get two little guys with ladders.
You pin him with the ladder?
Yeah. Two guys like Jim, you could actually just pin him to the wall until he gets a little tired, and you run up and put the sword out of it.
No idea. It is brilliant.
Did not know that, but now I'm going to look for those ladders.
Well, it's kind of
that's when you know you're in a good place.
I guess.
That is old school.
Hey, what's the best place to get sushi in New York?
That I wouldn't know. I've been out.
You don't know?
I came here to find out from you guys what's going on. What should I be watching on the movie screen, and what's up with the 32-ounce soda pop?
That's ridiculous, man.
Can you believe that there's a soda ban in New York City?
The mayor's gone crazy.
I understand the idea of everybody imprinting on little kids what you see walking by. I don't know if limiting, now people will buy extra soda pops. Is that not the thinking?
Of course.
Yeah.
What about 40-ounce beers?
Fine.
Of course.
Fine. You could buy a keg if you want and roll it out of the place.
We don't want to ban anything, but you're going to tell us alcohol's not a problem, but the soda is?
Yeah, more of
Are you kidding me?
An issue than soda? Stop.
Right. Yeah, in Tokyo, alcohol is a major thing.
Really?
And when you go to the 7-Eleven, you can buy hard booze and so forth.
Really?
So, yeah, I almost brought one. It's a bottle of sake that's easily as long as half my leg. And you put it down on the floor. And they have no issues with this sort of a thing.
Right?
It's got to be 62 ounces of alcohol. Hardcore crash your Toyota.
They don't.
That's why they take the subway.
Right. Public drinking is fine. Like walking around drinking.
They won't even give you a bag if you go and you buy a beer out of the 7-Eleven. She'll look at you funny if you ask for a bag.
Wasn't that compromise the bag though between the police and people drinking outside? Wasn't that bag a compromise? Like you can drink outside, we know what you're doing.
But it's so stupid because you know exactly what they're doing if they got the bag.
Was it ever legal? I know we convinced each other back in high school.
That's all you needed to do. Dude, get a bag and you're cool. You're not cool.
We just heard from the elders. Yeah, no, man, just wrap it.
We convinced each other of a lot of things.
Right.
I remember that much.
That's a very good question. I don't know.
Is that a true thing?
Yeah.
Like, because I don't think it ever was. I
don't either.
I have been stopped over by near St. Mark's, allegedly.
Allegedly.
And not recently, but almost recently, by somebody who said, no, that's not legal, pour it out. Because you'd think, okay, that's one of those
heard
great,
this.
What do you call it, urban myths?
Yeah, you can't
the
start
pot story.
You can't start reciting like law precedent, like, well, of course the paper bag is legal. Here it is in the statutes, and the cops like pour it out.
And the whole point was, whatever you do, just don't bring it down and scare my horses or my kids.
Yeah.
So maybe it's the same thing with 32-ounce pop.
Yeah. The mayor's just. I think he's power hungry. I think he knows that he can only do certain things and look like a very powerful guy, and these are them. He can't do any real legislation. You know, it's nothing that's going to really upset a lot of people.
Real legislation's too much work.
That's a lot of work. Hey, the commute
not easy.
Stinks. You know, the price of the TSA is going up, and that stuff's hard to handle. But soda, sure.
Or take on the alcohol companies?
That's crazy.
Right.
You can't take on the alcohol companies.
Of course
not. Alcohol and tobacco, huge.
Can you take on the coffee companies? I don't even think that.
He's trying to at Starbucks.
Starbucks is saying fuck
the people.
Starbucks is saying fuck you. They're not going to listen.
We're talking about it like China just launched another rocket.
Right? Right?
Oh, no, I understand Starbucks is in the game now.
Starbucks is laughing at the ban. They're not going to go with it.
Right?
Absolutely.
They're talking like these are made, like it's a country just entered the fray.
Yeah.
But Starbucks says no, and we need to hear a ticker tape.
They're going to fight the legislation.
They said that they won't do it. They won't. They won't honor it until they get fined. And it's like, you know, it'll go to court and probably get overturned. At least hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully, yeah.
You guys are going back out? You're going back out on tour?
We have an Australian show April 20th, which, you know, I do my turnaround from here. We're going to start rehearsing. And after that, we do our Japanese shows, which we originally put on hold. That's how I wound up there.
Well, you just were there.
You figured you got there early?
I got there a little early for the shows, and then it turns out there's no shows, and I said, hey, the last thing I'm missing is the dog. Let's get to know the place.
The last we heard, you were, I don't know, you made a video in the woods saying that the Van Halen thing was going to shut down for a little while.
The Van Halen thing has become very public in that Eddie took ill. He was not right the entire tour. And the ups and downs of that constantly, you know, when you're on the road, it's unfamiliar everything, and having to go to the doctor and having to go to anything besides what you're doing to play the shows is taxing, especially since we ain't exactly spring chickens anymore. It's the one word I stutter on. Spring. How long ago was that?
Holy shit! Did you have any? Could you even fathom back in the late '70s and early '80s?
Other than spring?
Anything?
No.
Could you even fathom that you'd still be playing with Van Halen and still be in arenas and playing the music?
It was the plan, actually.
Was it really?
Yes. The idea was based on old Uncle Manny, who is still with us. He's 93 now. And, you know, the Cafe Wah, okay?
Yep.
That history runs really deep with the Roth family. He's the patron, the godfather of the whole family, still is. And it was his, you know, he was total bohemian. He was totally downtown. He was getting high in a bathtub with two chicks in 1961. And I can say that in Japanese. Senkyuhaku Rokujini. 1961.
Wow.
But it was always that if you do something in showbiz, you got to do it with discipline. Do it with that, you know, no such thing as bad weather, man.
Yeah. Just bad gear.
You got to have a note of that in you, as well as, okay, hey, I have a new idea. I have a crazy idea. Oh, I got a crazy new idea. That's the easiest part. Showing up and having to drive that wedge home every time you have a new idea. Knowing where to place it. That's a great new idea. Now here comes the legwork. Here comes the elbow grease and all those, you know, kinds of expressions.
How was it going back there for the, we saw the really small show there, and it felt like it was a really personal and like special thing for you to do. So was there 200 people there that night?
Tops.
And it felt like you really wanted to go that small place, and you talked about like coming down there as a kid, and it was really like a personal thing for you.
Well, my pop was just starting school, not even medical school, just college. I was an accident. Mom has since announced that. Happened a lot in the 50s. And Pop was just starting college, so every summer I would be dropped off down at the right above the Comedy Cellar. Uncle Manny had a loft, which is, you know, the Cafe Wah and the Comedy Cellar were the same thing. In fact, you could spend the night in Comedy Cellar was a thieves market with stalls, and you could spend the night on one of the sofas or the couches in the Cafe Wah for, I think, 25 cents, something like this. And I spent the summer of, let's count, 61, 62, 63, 4, almost 5 years every summer in that loft right up above where it's still there. I don't even know the dame who lives there. And, he was the Duke of McDougal.
Right.
And my Aunt Judy, who is still with us, she's like, I don't know, she's got to be 88 years old. She's now
good genealogy in there.
She's a complete hippie, lives in Northern California, grows her own pot,
At 88.
How is it? How is the pot?
Well, she can enough to completely confuse my Uncle Dave, who's a brain surgeon from the East Coast who can't understand that kind of shit at all in his life. So, you gotta have both.
Right.
If you're gonna do what
Is she still
we
smoking
did.
pot at 88?
Oh yeah, everybody laughs, when she says it's time to go to bed, and that's you can, at the family reunions, it bears a lot of comment.
When did Cafe Waz start? What year?
Oh, late 50s, like
50s.
1958 or something like this.
So they had like Lenny Bruce and Dylan and all the guys
He
coming
gave
through,
Bob
right?
Dylan his first job.
Yeah, I know.
When he was what was his real name?
I don't know.
Oh,
You mean Bob Dylan's real name?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, Zimmerman. Thank you.
Bobby Zimmerman.
I know Bob mentioned Manny Dwarman in his biography because Manny had Cafe Finjan at the time or whatever, and he wouldn't put Bob Dylan on. Manny, the other Manny who ran the Comedy Cellar when I was there, and he thought Bob Dylan had no talent and he refused to put him on.
Whoops.
He actually said no to Bob
The same
Dylan.
thing about the Beatles after the first Ed Sullivan failure.
They stink.
One of those classic blunders.
It ain't the Dave Clark 5, I'm telling you. Guys, there's no saxophone.
These guys will never fly, yeah.
Haircut, schmearcut. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, Dave, you saw like Richard Pryor right back in the day at the Cafe Waz,
I
a
saw
kid, and Joan
everybody
Rivers.
coming through there, and I remember seeing also poetry readings. There was Virgin Islands steel drums, and I said to Manny just this last family reunion, just within the last year, I remember walking in the first time when I was probably 9 years old, and there was some Virgin Islands steel drums, and a guy who did poetry goes, "Oh, that's Eddie Barclay. He still lives over in Brooklyn.
Wow.
You want to do? I talk to him all the time." So he still maintains. Yeah, he maintains all of his connections on the phone. Man, he's a coffee drinker, like 4 cups a night, and he doesn't start till 11.
Yeah.
And and the Duke of McDougal is now the Duke of swimming class at Leisure World.
Leisure.
Yeah. With that sense of humor and that drive, he was a complete downtown guy for 50 years, 50.
And you grew up around all that. How cool is that?
And all the rest of my family was doctors and lawyers and Indian chiefs. My pop was a prison doctor for the last 25 years of this thing.
Wow.
Ivy League, he called it, Folsom and San Quentin. And
was there anything that happened, like a crossroads in your life, where you might have ended up as a doctor or lawyer instead of a rock and roller?
Well, we were combat hippies, back in when Life magazine first declared, the flower children or whatever in the mid '60s. I remember that like it was yesterday. We boom. We all had crew cuts. We were all in the junior ROTC doing flag, whatever, where you march with the fake rifles and go to put up the flag. And shit, the first time I was handed a rifle, I was 8 years old, and I'd still go shooting. At the same time, when we were done, we'd go sneak some Marlboro cigarettes that we had shoplifted from the Ralph's Market right around the corner and listen to somebody's older brother's Jimi Hendrix records. And it was kind of in the same day. We're talking about 6th and 7th grade, and just as I was becoming a teenager,
So you never had the ambition to want to go into a professional field like a doctor or anything like that?
No, it was always, I knew I wanted to be showbiz from the time I was really like 7 years old.
Right.
I wanted to broadcast. I wanted to talk on the radio, I heard you fellas talking about how our circles almost collided.
Yeah.
I was in radio for almost 4.5 months.
We remember.
Oh, I thought it was only 4. I'm sorry. I was off by 15 days.
That was just a whole...
Jesus.
It was a colorful ride.
CBS just didn't know what they were doing.
They fucked you over, man.
Someone like you should have worked on the radio.
Yeah, you had a great idea, a great
something
original
different
personality that they just wanted to shove into that 6 to 10 radio guy mold. That's not you.
Well, there's the top 40 mold,
right,
which most of us, a lot of you listening, grew up with, which is that really hyperstatic, it's hopping and popping and popping with the best bet for the boss beat at the top of the pop. Used to practice that on a lot of playgrounds.
Yeah, but it meant nothing. There was no substance behind that.
And then you would practice FM DJ.
Oh yeah,
which was kind of like.
Boss Jock. Yeah.
Here's a brand new one from Janice.
Janice.
That's sped up into, a little bit more modern, whatever. But if you're coming with anything that's different, anything that's new, then you fellas know better than anybody.
Ooh, look at you.
Yeah, you're going to have to find your own audience, and you're going to have to, it's like chiseling away at a stone from other people's mountains.
Yep, they don't want to hear it. And talk about giving you time to build an audience. It doesn't exist.
No.
Hey, where's the first ratings book? Well, get the fuck out.
See you later.
It's
not working.
You can't interrupt. Dave's telling a great story. You can't interrupt him. Go, I got to do the weather. And we got to do the traffic when he's on a roll about something.
Well, they were also like pushing. Well, you got to have a traffic chick. One that you kind of have a larcenous designs upon, and you need to have a sports block, and you need it's the familiar diet, which in the right hands,
sure, but
that's not. Really,
I got to ask Dave though. I mean, we heard the stories after you left. Is it true you demanded palm trees? Because that story went around the building for a while.
Yes.
That you had crazy demands that you needed palm trees in the studio.
Well, what happened was I said, after a lifetime of danger and intrigue, international danger and intrigue, why stop? I'm an expert now.
I heard not only palm trees, I heard you wanted sand brought in to make an entire beach
Let's
in
go
the
to
studio.
where the palm trees are. We'll rent a small but palatial hotel room.
Nice.
All right. We'll broadcast from there. You
That
can
works.
put the line in. We can go on the net, etc. And showing up is not the issue, guys. Clearly. So why not do it from Vegas? Why not do it from Hawaii? Gee, well, you'll have to get up at midnight. Woo! There's entire communities here. There's entire voter blocks within the sound of our voices now. We're going midnight. Isn't that a little early?
Exactly.
Yeah, those radio management, they need to be structured. Everything has to be structured.
I said, let's go to the different places where things are going on, the boat races, wherever. And I don't even know wherever.
Right.
I'm just saying, I know there's some somewhere.
Sure.
Point towards Florida, for Christ's sake,
Yeah.
And there's got to be a big rodeo with a lot of those blonde dames with the, the big boots with the fringe. Point west, man. Here we go.
Yeah.
Oh, and in England, rugby. It's cold outside. They're playing rugby. They get drunk. Let's go. And you'll find your way towards just not even talking to the drum majorette or the chief rugby player, but everybody that you're going to bump into in the elevator.
Exactly,
everybody
right? Good
that
stuff.
You're going to collide in. Every taxi driver, if you say to him, driver, music, please, sing. And you tell him, no, I'll double your tip, sing a song. Can be any kind of song you want. Happy, drunken, can be football song. I had a Japanese guy sing a funeral song that everybody wanted to quit the night early. It was too sad. You never know what you're going to get.
Right. Yeah.
And with today's recording apparatus,
get pretty good copies.
It's an easy approach.
Yeah.
If you're a wanderer, you got to be.
What was the first sign that things were going awry? Like when you were there, like the first time when you went, like, ooh, this might not be fun.
When I walked into Howard's old studio and they said, okay, well, this is where you're going to be broadcasting from. Where do you think? And I said, no, you got to be kidding, right? Aren't we going to be like, on rooftops and, ambient sounds? And no, you're going to be right here. And things were kind of downhill from there. So I started to, okay, well, let's try and, create something here that's indoors.
Palm trees.
Yeah, let's bring in 20 potted palms, and let's see if we can drill a hole in the window, It's
I get some real air and sounds in here.
Well, how did we start our encounter here? We started off with the great outdoors. Guys,
you were responsible for the window?
Yes.
Yeah. You were responsible for the window?
Yes.
We loved that window.
Yeah, that window was blocked up. Yeah, when Howard had
there was
the
a rumor
studio.
Howard was scared of snipers, so there was this beautiful window that he had blocked out. And when you got there, you cut the hole back out so we can see outside.
It's just a different mindset, you know. If we're actually writing and recording, I prefer it to be like this, but a little bit darker, like where we are, so that you're completely focused on one thing.
Right.
You follow? But if I'm doing anything even remotely like your job, and I've got to stay in full Diamond Dave mode, that requires a sunroof.
Some palm trees.
You guys can do this list. Do the list.
Palm trees, definitely.
Sand.
I'm not going to actually drink them, but I got to see
audience.
like some mimosa shit.
I require different things. A hotel room and $300 is all I need. No outdoors.
I can't picture though Dave sitting in a meeting with the suits after the show and them trying to tell him what to do.
That was like verbal judo. That was such a go around because they one of the biggest things was that I was playing too much ethnic music.
Really?
Which was anything that's got a groove to it, is I don't know if you guys are familiar. I know you are, mate, but I don't know if you guys are familiar with my background. I was part of the integrational busing program. When they started in the 60s, I was going to junior high and high school. It was all black and Spanish speaking. And so that's where the Diamond Dave thing comes from. I just show up with suspenders and, two-tone shoes and pants up to my armpits. And I go over to the Pasadena High School where the Van Halens were like Ridgemont High. And that was exactly like, the Sean Penn character and the Van Fullisman. That was all Deep Purple, Black Sabbath. And, and Led Zeppelin, you follow. And I was coming from Superfly and Motown and, Rick James, etc. So when we began to put the music together, you get either the best or certainly the most convincing of both worlds. And it's no secret, there's no coincidence, rather, all the popular Van Halen songs are between 100 and 128 beats a minute. That 128 is about as fast as you can dance before the girls start spilling the drink. Even bottled beer. You try and go over 138 beats a minute, man, you'll start spilling it out, even out of a long neck butt. But if you stay down around 128 from 100 to 128, 100, that's about Al Green, sort of running with the devil is right around there. Jump is right about 128.
Sure.
But there's very limited spillage, and that's not a coincidence. That was my contribution. That's some girl-friendly shit.
No shit, man.
And it's as hard rock as you can possibly
absolutely.
play. Eddie Van Halen is as solid as American oak, if not longer lasting. I don't know what is, but that sound combined with you get Four Tops harmony on every chorus, every turn. We had to play the bars. We had to play 5 45-minute sets a night.
I think Van Halen's directly responsible for my first foray into tinnitus, which is great. Just having those big old headphones on my head with Jamie's crying fucking cranked. And it's like, oh, this is great. I'm hearing...
You can thank David.
It's like, that'll
He's
go
here.
away.
You can finally thank him.
That'll go away tomorrow, though. And then maybe the next day.
Did you start taking martial arts because you were the only white guy in the school? Was it like a problem, so you started wanting to defend yourself?
I started taking martial arts because I was the only Jewish guy in school.
Oh, close.
Jewish and white.
I stood out. Things sort of evened up a little bit, but I used to have like one of those David Bowie haircuts where it goes straight up like Ziggy Stardust. And with my big nose at a certain age, if I turned to this side, I looked like 3 o'clock. I threw a mean shadow. And my pop was always pretty. He had a great sense of humor, but he was always pretty strict. When I asked for an allowance first time when I was 12, he said, "I hereby allow you to get a job."
Oh shit!
And when in some point in about 4th grade. Coming home from school complaining about being teased, etc. He says, "I've had enough of listening to you." And on my birthday, my 12th birthday, actually, I was neatly deposited at the karate studio, and I started doing, 4 times a week.
Whoa,
and that was kind of a babysitter at the same time, so I grew up in that. And that leads up to, moving to Tokyo. That's a big part of the reason that I kind of, redid my whole thing there. I'm going for a teacher certificate.
Oh, really?
That sword stuff.
No kidding.
The long, you can call it samurai sword,
right?
They used it, but Japanese longsword. And if you play ball, then one day you want to play for New York. And, if you wrestle, someday you're on WWE, whatever. And if you start off as a little kid watching black and white karate movies and being around that, then someday you're going to go to Japan and get your ass handed to you.
So you get knocked around sparring there?
Oh yeah, they're not forgiving. It is an island. That's the polite way of saying it.
Wow.
Everybody else is from outside. Gaijin is it's a foreigner, outside, whatever. And man, the number of white boy faces that I would see in a common day on my bicycle, you can count on one hand.
Really?
The whole day. And I ride my bicycle everywhere. I go to language school almost every day. So
you must be very if people see you, they must know you're David Lee Roth from Van Halen.
Oh, yeah. I use my smile like a ray gun. There, see?
I like
all the way across. No sighting, nothing.
You're always...
Oh, yeah. And I know how to really just slow the room down easy, because as soon as I walk in, people are, you can see the shoulders come up, and I know how to say, right away, Nihongo ga herede sumimasen. It means, excuse my bad Japanese. and if you're cool looking, Nihongo ga herede kuso sumimasen. Like this, excuse my shitty Japanese. And right away they laugh. Okay, he just made me in charge.
Right.
Yeah, he's okay.
So is there any paparazzi following you around? There's no TMZ in Tokyo following you around?
Much too dignified, much too respectful, sir. They read it, I call it excuse me style, sumimasen style. It's no matter what, you are bowing and you are excusing and thank youing and yes sir and no sir.
Right,
There's no tipping or anything like that. So that if you're going to a radio appearance, like I did one like this on J-Wave, morning thing, they all wait in line. The paparazzi wait in a nice line.
Jeez.
Yeah. And then they take turns like the Soul Train dance line. That 2 people take a picture and they split away. And the next 2 come up. It's very organized, very disciplined. Wow. It's expected. It's predicted. It doesn't have that idling drag strip kind of engine quality that we have here in the States, including at the shows.
Right.
Here it whines like rah, 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 rah. There's an idol to the noise of the crowd and the band, and you get these nice segues from one thing to another. And in Japan, it's so polite that they cheer like they're watching a ball get spiked again at a volleyball tournament for the 1,000th time. It goes, yay! And you keep getting caught with your pants down if you ain't ready for it. If you don't know that's going to happen.
I was going to ask you, did that mess you up at first?
Oh, totally.
Because you're like, we must be...
Right, that roar. Just
we must be sucking because they're not roaring.
Yes, and at the end of half of Van Halen songs, those are end-of-the-world endings.
Right.
Everything's flying around like, Wizard of Oz, and you go plod just feeling like you survived it. Oh yeah, you fucking A. That was, and you talk to each other. Oh man, and you wait for that. You would probably know that as a standing comic or somebody. I've never done that, but kind of the tone. Van Halen audience too. Our audiences consume per capita, I laugh at the term, more beer and alcohol than any other sporting event at any venue. I check routinely. We sell more beer and more mixed drinks than any other event that comes through any given arena. So the cheer is extra long. Even if he's falling down, it takes longer. Help me up, fly.
Well, Dave, Dave helped us out as an audience member because he'd go up there with a bottle of Jack Daniels and just drink right from the bottle. So we're like, oh, that's how fucking cool is that? Yeah. I'm going to get myself a Jack Daniels.
Yeah, I want to get a bottle.
Yeah, so everyone in the crowd be hammered.
Well, we sort of stepped up. We took our calling cards from the classics, but then just sort of expanded on it. Dean Martin would step out with a glass, remember, and a cigarette. We just got rid of the glass.
Are you a big drinker over the years?
Really, no.
Yeah, you don't come across like that.
More like, let's have the toast. It was more fun to splash it around, particularly the champagne move, which has been stolen several times now, I see in the wonderful world of video, is you take the champagne and shake that up and spray it around. But I'd actually seen that in a South American parade on a documentary as well. So
at least you took it from another country, though.
Oh, yeah, we're mixing and matching. But, the whole backstage scene, we had heard about what Led Zeppelin and Elvis did, allegedly, etc. So we said, well, come on, let's consciously chase these records.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let's consciously break these records and see if we can stay on the road forever.
Were you part of any scandals through the years? What's like the biggest scandal that especially the American press, dropped on you?
No, the biggest scandal was when our brown M&Ms, which...
Oh, right.
The rider, right.
Yes, you know
Van
about
Halen
the rider. Exactly, that if there's brown M&Ms discovered, then Roth will destroy the room and you forfeit the show at full paycheck, whatever.
And the pack of cigarettes on every flat surface. That was another one.
But that was only, the M&M's thing wasn't because they were, thought they were the shit and they didn't want to. They said they're not paying attention to contract. If there's, different M&M's in there, obviously they didn't read everything, so something's going to be fucked up when we go in there.
Trying to trip them up?
Trip them up.
Our contract rider that went along, the technical rider rather, was like the Chinese phone book. It was huge and almost indecipherable. To the uninitiated, say that in Chinese. But I actually can. But and to the uninitiated eye, which was almost every eye back in the 80s, now today the huge traveling production, the big giant video screen in variety of shapes, that's by rote. We expect that out of even the most common country act, much less rock epics and dance figures who are out there. And then so we were having all kinds of problems with gear not working, winches not working, going up and down. You got safety issues, and the crew is taking hours to get outside. At the end, we're going into overtime, which means don't get used to that wristwatch or that German car. So.
They killed you. Man, they kill you when you went over.
They murder you for that.
They murder. We all know that.
Yeah.
That overtime is not something to play with.
Yeah, so I said, for one thing, one thing we can do to test the promoter is in the very middle of it, we'll just put this little ridiculous thing that if there's any brown M&Ms, that Roth's going to trash the room, et cetera, and you'll have to pay the full playing price, which is how many thousands of dollars, and just leave it right in the middle. And it would be preceded by something like there will be 12 amperage voltage sockets spaced at not less than 20 meters apiece. There will be 13 generators at IPS UT5A7s, and there will be no brown M&Ms or you will get your ass kicked. So if you weren't studying that shit with bifocals, you got your ass handed to you.
What a great fucking way to get them to read the goddamn writers.
And if they asked you, what the fuck is this? You'd be like, that guy read the contract. That guy read the contract.
You would know is you would walk in, and there would invariably be two big women, like from the cafeteria in junior high school, with the big bosoms that go all the way down to the tray, with plastic gloves separating brown M&Ms from dumped out the bags into a bowl, and we're now separating them. Kind of what do you call it when everybody's working on one belt?
Assembly line.
Assembly line fashion. Taking them out and putting, and then those would be taken out and given to somebody, probably the truck drivers or whatever. Here's the best scandal. Now that I've done the setup, now you know the recipe. Let's cook. University of New Mexico has just installed what was then a brand new idea where you melt down all the old basketballs and you make flooring out of it. Rubberized flooring for basketball. Have you ever seen it? Have you ever stood on it? Instead of wood, it's rubberized, and all it is melted. It even feels like basketballs, like this. It's melted down, and they use rubberized flooring. They put up the stage, and then said that, said, yes, we've read the contract writer, etc. There's no problems, and yes, it can sit on our new flooring. Well, I came backstage, and I saw some brown M&Ms. Okay. And so I trashed the dressing room really well. The most you can really trash, even if given that you have no time limit, could be, I don't know, maybe $3,000-$4,000, and that includes lighting fixtures. And you got to save those for last because you're not really.
You don't want to be in the dark.
You can't see. Trash a place in the dark.
Take those out on the way out.
Would you like when you saw the brown M&Ms though, because you got a chance to do that?
Totally.
And you really trashed the. And you really would trash the dressing room?
Have you ever tried to do the remove the tablecloth from underneath the
You've been able to
buffet? I've tried it dozens of times. Most people only dream of that, man. Right? How many weddings have you been to?
I always want to do that.
Oh, I just got to try this once, but I never will. And how many times do I see a brown M&M and go, time for some magic? Try and it starts off with that.
Right.
Or, you see a brown M&M and this gives rise to pranking, which means one of you come in and you sit down and everybody's having a drink and the lights are low, and unbeknownst to one of you, I would safety pin the tablecloth to your shirt.
That's a good one. Oh shit!
So that would occur. All right. Yes. And I trashed the dressing room and whatever. We had a show to do, so the most that I would do there, no time limit. I'll say $4,000 worth of damage. That includes fire extinguishers. The stage, though, they really hadn't read and done their book. The stage weighed a tremendous amount, and it sank through the rubber of their flooring, of their new basketball floor. The whole thing had to be replaced. So the headline came out. There was no internet then, so you understand how things get a little conflagrated here, confusated here. It came out that Dave Roth discovers brown M&M, trashes dressing room, and does $400,000 worth of damage.
$400,000. Okay. Meanwhile,
who am I to get in the way of a great rumor?
Yeah. That sounds like you were out of control.
Toreador trick. Step right this way. Is it true, Mr. Roth? I ain't saying nothing. That's all I'm saying.
Wow.
Yeah, why squash that? That's a great rumor.
Fuck yeah.
They blamed the stage on me, so all I had to do was sit here and say, I ain't never was here and I never was going to be here. Yeah. No jury's convincing me different.
How's the relationship with everybody in the band? Because there's always been those weird rumors, too. No one knows anything for sure, but it always seems like there could be some conflict. Is there conflict? Because it's obviously different personalities kind of living together.
Sugarcoat it.
Yeah.
In our band, there is constant back and forth, and at the same time, I think everybody's more than old enough now to really to respect what we've been allowed to do. If we've made a contribution, that's for you to decide. But we've been allowed to do this job for how many summers in a row? Yow. It's like we never got kicked out of summer camp. Usually you get too old like Menudo. We just kept coming back.
Are there things you guys do to avoid the conflict? Do you kind of maybe only see each other when it's time to play? I
mean, for Edward and I, there is a lot of whatever that chemical is in guys that,
alphas.
We never lost it. We both are competitive. with ourselves personally to an obsessive, whatever you call it, obsessive compulsive nature. I mean, with or without an Eddie Van Halen in my life, you know, a lot of my time is spent with my head in my hands going, come on, Dave, come on, like this, and still to this day, and he as much or more so. Then together with each other, there is that mutual support of, wow, am I glad I met you? Wow, we've done some great stuff together. And that also combines with, I think you're in my space.
Oh, shit. There's always a great moment at a Van Halen show, especially over the last 2 tours, where at like halfway through the first song, Dave and Eddie will just hug. Like, right, they'll stop pretty much, just have a beat in the background and give a hug, like, and the whole crowd's like, oh, that's amazing.
Right.
They're doing along. And then you see them 6 months later, and there's no interaction. You're like, oh boy. Is this show gonna, are they going to get through this show? You just never know.
Well, I never do know.
I asked that question because when you guys first got together, was it the same type of, you know?
When we first got together, you mean as kids?
Yeah, everyone just got along
and so forth. No, the conflict was immediate.
From day one. Oh, really?
And sustained from day one.
For 35 years, off and on.
Oh,
wow.
not a note out of this symphony's changed. Not a bit. That's an accurate question.
I just always thought it kind of evolved over time that you guys started having that conflict.
It's like when I say, man, I hurt today. People say, getting older. I say, I wish. That would mean there was a time in my life when I didn't hurt.
Right. Wow.
I've been aching and paining since day one.
Do you guys
think this band has been aching and paining since day one? And it is that conflict.
Yeah.
It is that collision, that sound. In, you know, and that, here's that Japanese shit again. In sumo, that's called tachiai. When they collide, boom! You can hear that all the way across the arena. And that's the sound of Van Halen, is that there is a mutual push-pull like you found on all the most colorful football teams and baseball teams. You know, the reason that people still wear, you know, that Oakland Raiders logo, you know, it comes from whatever city it's in today. It hails back to Oakland, California of the late 70s, you know, when they were the wildest bad boys and also the winningest and the most picturesque and, you know, blah, blah.
Have you guys ever thought of therapy?
I think all you learn in therapy is how to lie to each other a little better, a little more smoothly. You know,
are you afraid that without that conflict, you guys won't be as creative? Like almost like this formula has worked. What are we without it? Like, is there? Because sometimes I'm afraid to be happy because I won't be as funny. Does it like that in the dynamic of a band?
That's an interesting question. Let me answer it this way: is if you. Well, I've never really thought about it. I sometimes know that when people do go to therapy and they lose their rage, it turns out that the rage is way more interesting than they are. So that would be an actual question. Variously, we've all gone through our really sober periods and our really colorful periods. And, you know what? It changes according to where each one of us is in our life. Eddie and I got along really well for a period of time while Alex and I were at a struggle with each other. Now, when I'm in Japan, I call it coffee with Al. Every morning I wake up at 3 in the morning because I have permanent jet lag. And I get on the headset, you know, and I sit on the balcony and, you know, watch the sunset, and I call Al Van Halen. And we plot and plan the daily, because it's ongoing, whether it's website or what's coming up tour-wise, or not more than 2-3 days goes by, I don't speak with him. I probably won't speak with Edward for probably 6-8 months at a time.
Wow.
Yeah, and when we do get together, well, I've had girlfriends like this. It was new, it was fresh, it was exciting, and it lasted a lot longer than otherwise would have.
Wow. That's some good honesty right there.
You know, it's because we are at contest with the world individually, and then we are at contest with each other.
Sure.
And it is that push and pull of, I can do that, I can do that. You know, it's
right.
I think I can do better than that, or I think that I have a better idea. Usually, somebody's endocrine system slows down first.
And how is Eddie's son working out?
He's doing great.
Yeah,
doing great. You know, we had a great year touring when we were on the road.
Do you get along with him though, or is he kind of taking his dad's side?
No, there's not even really a side anymore. You know. know, in terms of like picking the songs, Van Halen's kind of like a great pizza place. Whatever's on top's all good.
He's really good bass player too.
Is he really
Does
good?
the good backup vocals, you know.
He's earned his spot, you think?
He definitely has, yeah. Yeah, he's...
Well, also, you know, with the three guys looking the same, I feel like Sammy Davis, Lee Roth now.
Yeah, right.
Those three look the same. And,
you're the guy.
Do you and Michael not like each other? I mean, Michael Anthony's not in the band. Is that because of you? I heard he was better friends with Sammy, or is that just bullshit that the
you know,
rumors?
that is a whole nother camp. That's a whole nother. It's a whole set of fragile politics. You know, whatever's happening with Ed and Al. I'm glad, frankly, that we are at the top of the mountain, at the peak of our powers, and that the two brothers and I are getting along great.
Well, basically, what Dave is saying is him and Michael Anthony don't have a problem.
No, we have no problem.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
No. And I salute what we've done in the past. You know, the vocals in Van Halen are easily as important as the rhythm section or the production or what have you.
And that was him coming over the top of everything. With that high harmony,
Sure.
It was, really
Do you
great,
think the idea, and with Sabbath now, because they don't have Bill Ward, do you think the idea of the original band, the original lineup, is more of a fan obsession than it is with the guys? Like, you know, we're just guys who know each other, but for the fans, it's more important than it is just for the actual musicians.
Let's approach the question perhaps from another angle. Does it matter that the original cast of West Side Story and et cetera, are pretty much all gone? Do we care? And just as long as it's a good production of West Side Story, does that apply to rock bands? Everybody in Beethoven's original band is dead. Right? He's not in Vegas, is he? Okay, so Beethoven's gone.
We talk about this.
We still go. We still wear the T-shirt when we're in college.
What is it? Leonard Skinner's down to one original member, I think, at this point.
Well, I'm raising the question.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm arguing.
We've talked about this on the air a lot. A lot of the bands we grew up with are going to just move on with completely new members.
Supposedly Foreigner has no original members in the band now. None.
But they own the name and they're Foreigner. That's so weird.
That's an interesting. Maybe it's different for voices than it is instrumental? Is that conceivable?
Look at Journey. They revitalized their career with the Filipino kid.
Yeah. And they're making a damn good living with it. So
Sabbath did well with Dio. I mean, and then after Dio, then Ozzy came back. But I mean, they did very well with it. So it's like people do adjust to it. But what I'm always wondered about, because I love the original Sabbath lineup.
Right, sure.
And I wonder, is that just me as a fan, like wanting to recapture something instead of just enjoying what they are now?
Well, maybe you're thinking about it like a football team. Maybe something about the team continually draws you back. For me, it's going to be the Oakland Raiders. For you, it's probably somebody East Coast.
The Jets,
and whoever it is, I like that logo. I like that identity. I like those sunglasses.
It's all about the logo.
Because there's not one original member of the Raiders from when you first started following them. Yeah.
So maybe that's part of it as well. I'm just sort of walking through it with you.
But Foreigner has no original members? I didn't know this.
Is it Mick Jones, I think his name is? He pretty much collects the royalties from them touring. He gets a certain cut. He
franchise the band.
Yeah, he doesn't want to play anymore. He's like, whatever. He produces and does whatever.
He gets his taste.
I'm starting to feel a little crushed, like when I discovered there were 4 lassies. And one of them was a girl.
Yeah, Van Halen did this great thing back in the day with T-shirts. They realized in the venue was charging like $30 for a T-shirt because the union was getting a 30% cut. They're like, wait a minute, we don't want our fans paying $30 for a shirt. So they made up their own shirts, the band, and hired a crew to sell them out front in the parking lot for $10. And you know, because they had all, you know, the guys out there with the bootleg shirts. And let's beat the bootleg guys. Let's beat the venue inside. And they hired that crew. They would take off. They'd make all the money and then drive to the city the next morning, deposit that money in a bank, and keep doing the whole thing. So you guys screwed out the bootleggers and the union.
Well, our band's upset a lot of people along the way. I think that's probably
right. Pretty, you guys said it.
Well, you know,
that's a great move.
Dave, have you ever had a threesome? I'm just kidding. Stupid interview question.
Actually.
In a tub full of Perrier one summer.
I bet he could say that in Japanese. So.
Hey, why did you end up going solo at the time?
The band was in disarray. You know, we were all guilty. And
it was after what album? I'm trying to remember.
1984.
After
1984, you went solo.
Yep. And all the usual reasons that bands break up. And I don't know. It had a great effect on me outside of rock and roll. You know, playing in the bands, I had success on 3-4 more records there. 2-3 or more. But outside of that, had I stayed in the band, I do question, where would I have continued to? Because since that point in time has been a seriously colorful adventure. If you made a movie of it, nobody would believe it. Everybody would say, nah, it's just a bunch of guys got drunk and created that story. And I don't know that I would have done that unless I was the boss of my own destiny. At this point in time, I've kind of come full circle. And a lot of those yayas, I got out. A lot of those wild oats, you know, a lot of crazy ideas. I have gone out into the territory and come back. And now I like things a bit more predictable. And with Van Halen, I have that. I wonder if the fellas have that same.
Well, a couple things. You made a hell of a video when you were a solo artist. My God.
California Girls, Just a Gigolo.
Just how they were filmed,
that gave a new look. Yeah, there was definitely a new look
you
in
were
those
filming
in your videos.
Stuff way different than anybody else coming out with videos at the time.
Well, we're using material.
You found characters.
You know what? My one angering regret about showbiz as I sit here now is that I didn't have YouTube. I didn't have Google. I didn't have, you know, because we used to have to wait to get to New York to tape record off of a radio station when cassettes finally came around. You follow? Geez, I'm going to be in New York for a week and a half. I got to get 2 stereos, one for the rock station and one's for the dance groove on KTU, and then set them up and make sure that somebody changes them. Make sure the drum tech gets into the room and changes my tapes. I got 120-minute tapes. I'm telling you, I used to go through this like crazy.
Yeah.
And then it was, you know, if you wanted to see a movie, I remember I wanted to see the comedy called Hell's a Poppin'. You know the expression, Hell's a Poppin'. Okay. It was an old black and white vaudeville, just, you know, comedic, Sunshine Boys or the comics or whatever. And, I had to find a music professor, a film professor from UCLA who owned 1 copy that he kept in a vault. And I had to rent the certain projector with a certain projectionist, and he consented to playing it twice. And I had to rent a little restaurant somewhere in Los Angeles, and all the chairs I had to rent for 20 friends. And we watched the movie together once, and then everybody went into the other room and got drunk while I sat there and watched it again by myself. Just one movie, one time, to go through all of that rigmarole.
Was it worth it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It was great. Had you seen it from childhood or no? You'd never seen it before?
I'd never seen it before, and I'd heard about it. You know, like a Marx Brothers comedy or something. And I thought, hey, let me see what's in there. And I had to go through all that rigmarole. Well, if nothing else, it makes a great story. You know,
sure.
You know, I had to go to school with the wind at my back with no shoes. You know. So there's no wind, but the
you got to love YouTube then. It's right there for you.
Bingo!
Yeah.
Right away.
Yeah.
You know, if we're going to the Carolinas, wow, that's shag music. That kind of R&B, like Expressway to Your Heart. And I start buying with my forearm, in that just pile everything else onto the table, and then with your forearm scoop it into a bag, and come out with huge bags of cassette tapes and vinyl records and stuff, and carry all those cassette tapes around in big duffel bags on the tour bus, etc. Now you don't have to do that, and it's like, oh my God, I can hardly imagine where we would be if I'd had access to all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And you're queuing in on video work. I was just going off of stuff I remembered from watching as a kid, going, you know, what if we just move the camera really slow and keep it low, like they all did in all those so-and-so movies? Or what if we just turn it from color to black and white? I was just going off of memory.
Sure.
My memory's good, but it's short.
God, you bring back memories. I remember when you ran into a cool rock station or something, and you knew they were playing, when radio, where every station was playing different shit, now they all play the same stuff, but you came across one of those radio stations, and you would just line up your cassettes and just record all day, knowing you're going to find some cool little nuggets in there.
Yep.
Forgot all about that.
Yep. And we used to wait from city to city because you knew that there were cities like down around Brownsville, Texas, which is as far south as you can go before you go over the border. That's ZZ Top turf. And they only played that kind of really gritty kind of something. I don't know what you would call that, but, you know, it's one lead bass and drums, but white boy stuff, you know, and you would get Thunder Funk or whatever they called that up around the Houston area. It had brass in it. It was like ZZ Top with brass and stuff. And there were certain radio stations you knew that you were going to get that, you know, that you would run into that stuff.
And the only way to get it was to
just
record
fucking hit record.
You could actually pull up and be in the hotel room and hold the window open with the tour book and put your stereo in the window and try and aim it just like, you know, to get the reception, and then hit record, you know, and try not to walk too close to the antenna, and you make it remember some stuff.
Good memory.
But we knew after the first tour, you know, you knew exactly where, okay, here's the best place for donuts, here's the best place for Thunderfunk, here's the best place for ribs, and here's the best place for disco, and here's the best place, and you can just go through the whole list. You know?
But back then, the connections to places were probably more real. Like now, it's all just this thing in the stratosphere you can pull down. But back then, there was probably much more of a real connection to each place because you could only get this here or you could only get that there. So each place meant more for a different reason.
Now you do travel. It's the same shit in every city.
Everywhere is the same
it's
thing.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, you look out a window, you see the Applebee's and the Fridays.
The Starbucks and the
Starbucks and a Home Depot. Like, I don't know if I'm in Seattle or...
We're a block away from Times Square. It amazes me. All these people spend all this money to come to New York, to hang out with everyone coming to New York, and they go to the Fridays and the Applebee's. They're not even seeing New York. They hang out in Times Square.
Like, I don't think Dave goes to McDonald's in Tokyo.
He probably has.
I would go just to check it out.
A little different.
I would go to check it out.
This is part of the fun of travel. This is a good point, is that each McDonald's is a little bit different according to the location.
What do you get in Tokyo?
In Tokyo, you get, it's a little bit of it's like a bit of a soy taste. It's called umami. And it's just a little, it's not fish, it's more like mushroom kind of a flavor.
Really?
And it's in most Japanese food, okay? It's in the miso soup that you order, you know, and a lot of the food, like in your teriyaki sauce and stuff, you just don't know it. It's in there. And until somebody takes it out, and then you go, wow, this is a little bland today, or whatever. And they put that in the burgers.
They put that in the burgers?
In Paris, France, you know, we all know from Tarantino,
Royale,
the burger Royale, whatever. But there's more sugar in the, whatchamacallit, in the ketchup. It's noticeably sweeter. And if you go down south into the Alabamas in this area like this, then the Coca-Cola has twice as much sugar easily.
Really?
You know, so yeah, and then there's other places like a lot of salt. You know, France and Belgium, they like tons of salt all over their French fries. You know, other places, not so much. Yeah. So you kind of get to know your way around.
And they dip that shit in mayonnaise. Damn.
And Dave is doing to promote too. It's called Tokyo High Power Style Radio Show. It's on DavidLeeRoth.com, and then there's the Roth Show on YouTube.com/The Roth Show.
And I'm going to ask you, I was going to ask you off air, but could we get a taste of your radio show we can play on this channel?
Oh, absolutely.
A little taste?
You can. Yeah, we're on our 10th episode, and it's exactly the same subject matter, but I just pretty much do a monologue on it. I don't have guests. And I just I carry on about just about every subject that we've talked about here, but at length.
Sure.
Right,
you know, and just kind of spiel.
We'll figure it out, and we'll give the listeners a taste on our
because it's part of like a podcast. It's in podcast form, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
first video, podcast,
We get a lot of our friends to give us a little taste of their podcast, and we do it on the weekends.
Oh, that'd be
we'd
super.
love to have some of this stuff.
Dave's podcast is huge, too.
Yeah, I would imagine it would be.
We're up, without advertising, and this is the first advertising that I'm doing here, is coming around talking about it, is we just went past about 2.5 million downloads. I think it's the same 80 people, but
but they really like it.
Are they avid?
Huge fan.
Wow, 2.5. Wow.
And never say die fans.
And you find it at DavidLeeRoth.com, right? We said that?
Yes, in iTunes.com.
Tokyo High Power Style Radio Show.
Yep.
Do you get to play any of the solo stuff on the Van Halen tours? or you have to just kind of leave that alone.
Van Halen time.
Yeah, that's too bad.
And there's no Sammy stuff. You guys don't play any Sammy stuff either.
That's VH time.
Yeah, you probably want to keep it that way. I mean, Dave's solo stuff.
I don't know. If you're a hardcore fan, if he breaks out a solo song every once in a while, that would be kind of cool for everybody.
Look, that band he
Fucking
had.
going crazy. Come on.
Actually, I've said it on the air.
Love to hear that.
One of my favorite songs you did as a solo artist is Damn Good.
That was on Skyscraper.
I love that song, man.
Maybe
it's
the
mellow.
band will you know what? These are good points. Maybe it's
you want us to talk to the Van Halens?
Didn't Joe Walsh do?
I think he did some of his solo stuff with the Eagles, right.
And then that's not an Eagles song, is it?
No.
That's the move, Opie. You just broke up Van Halen.
Let's give me the next. Let's give me the next big fight.
Yeah, right after Ice Cream Man. I want to go into Damn Good for 4 minutes. You guys could take an extended break.
Breaking it up for the 9th time. It
was nice to see you slowing it down, though, man. As an artist, it was kind of cool to hear Damn Good.
You might have a point, I don't know. No. I wonder if we would ever get to that point where we could start adding some stuff like that.
He's going to call Alex in 2 days. Alex, let's open what Yankee Rose. Well, he had a great solo band with Steve Vai, Billy Sheen, and Greg Bissonette.
Huge. Those guys know how to play their instruments.
Unbelievable. That Eat 'em and Smile, Skyscraper Records.
Yeah.
And, they were both huge. Van Halen, both of them were doing still doing arenas even when Dave left the band.
Yeah.
That's how big both bands still
and
were.
And it was very, talk about putting a lead guitarist in a bad fucking spot. You got David Lee Roth going solo. That guitarist better be good. Coming off of Eddie Van Halen.
Steve
was
out of
great.
nowhere, too. He had been working kind of in the shadows for a little bit with Frank Zappa, of all people.
Wow.
But that's a musical kind of confirmation.
Sure.
Right? It says more about his ability than what he's actually done in the public. And since then, he's really built a career.
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel competitive when you were solo and Van Halen was doing their thing with Sammy? Would you guys, or at least from your point of view, kind of watch where they were and check it out? Would you block it out, or would you like if you were having like a down month or down 6 months, be like bothered that they were doing well and vice versa?
Now, the one thing I've learned, and that's another good point, the one thing I've learned from Richard Nixon was never pay attention to your press, never pay attention to your reviews.
It's hard, though.
Never
Let's be
look
honest.
at pictures of yourself and try not to, follow on to the competition so much.
Right.
And I've been pretty successful with that, frankly, much to my demise and my mise, as the case may be. Sometimes I should have been paying more attention or whatever. But like when I started doing the radio, it never occurred to me that there would be folks competing with me.
Right.
How do we never really compete in rock and roll. Okay, it'd be nice if I outsold somebody, maybe for example, but how do you really compete in terms of music? How do you say, one record's better than another record? How do you can say somebody's faster or slower, but you can't really compete. And in rock and roll, we never really competed with other bands. Yeah, we want to be the one you remember at the end of the night, but, it wasn't like sports. And it didn't occur to me that when I started doing radio, that people were going to be competing
They're
with
keeping
me.
score on that competition.
Teams,
They're keeping
and other
score.
jocks and other folks were going to be playing games with me and calling in and doing prank calls and stuff like that. Yeah, guys from the air, from the same station, kind of thing. It never occurred to me, and I was frankly taken by surprise a little bit when the competition element between Van Halen and myself solo really, sprang up.
Sure.
And I think that was a lot of our aftermarket friends getting involved, that the band and I knew that ultimately at some point we're going to be back together again. You're going to have to give us a star and some cement in front of some Vegas hotel someday. Someday.
Yeah.
Someday. You're going to have to wheel us all up to sit next to each other and say that we remember the good old days.
That conjures an image.
Well, so it's going to happen, guys. So let's kind of leave the landing place open there, and other management, other agents, other band members, people got involved, and it becomes a kind of a slinging fest at that point.
Yeah.
Do you guys seem like you're a very unstructured guy? You like to do what you want to do.
Free spirit, Jimmy.
Free spirit.
He's a free spirit.
When you want to be structured, if it's something you like because you became an EMS here in New York. Like if you focus on something, you have no problem being structured and doing it, but it seems like you probably don't like being told that you have to do something.
Maybe that's why you never got married. You don't like to being told what to do.
That's a part of it. That's a big part of it. Is like
I can't see you telling your wife, "Look, I'm going to friggin' Africa and live in a hut for a month. I'll see you later."
No, you can't. And people will say, "There's dames out there like that." There are not.
No.
No. And as far as anybody who even got my job and kept it this long is nobody functional ever did that. Okay, nobody well-adjusted ever stayed this long in my job in show business. So, that being said, I think, what was the original question?
It seems like you'll focus on something like, because no one likes being told what to do, but then you are able to go and become an EMS, or like you said, go to Japan because you want to learn to do this, and that's there's something to be said for that.
The EMS thing is strange. How many years did you do that?
Let me think.
And how many times did you get recognized as you're trying to help somebody out?
Many times.
People thought they were hallucinating.
Right.
Like,
what is it? Really?
Dave's going to give me mouth to mouth. Right. Some chicks, like, I've been wanting to kiss him since 82.
All I needed was a closed head wound.
You were all in with the EMS thing? You were out there doing it, huh?
Yeah.
For how long?
I started when I was about 46, 47, and I finished up about a total of about 6.5 years.
Really?
Yeah, I recerted 3 times. And I did my internship up in the Bronx in the 47th Precinct. Big shout out to all of you out there. And I kind of made my way around. I rolled in every neighborhood here that would have me. Bed-Stuy, Queens, East New York.
What made you want to do that? Like, what happens where, like, you're a rock star, and then all of a sudden you're like, I want to do this thing. This is what I want to do. What happened? It was a thought, or it just became this obsession?
Yeah, the obsession is with other people. Why would you want to be a singer or a broadcaster? It's because you have an obsession with other people, interacting with other people. Whether you're getting along with or antagonizing, it's just there's other folks involved, as opposed.
But it's drastically different, the two professions. That's what blows our minds, I think.
Right. Well, my first job, I can help trace it a little bit. I don't know if I can psychoanalyze myself.
Sorry.
I can try. Do you have some strong drink?
Good luck. Good luck with that.
Sorry. It's just a question.
You have some bourbon?
Right.
I'll psychoanalyze me.
I think it's fascinating is why
I'm very curious. I couldn't do it because I like being in front of people so much. The idea of doing something very humble like that
is very different.
Yeah, and almost anonymously. Like, people know you, but a lot of people wouldn't, and they're injured. I don't know if I could do that.
No, nobody knew me. I was, my first job out of high school was working in surgery at night in East L.A., the border of East L.A., in Los Angeles. In the early 70s, you did every job. The restrictions, like anything else, were way different, way relaxed. So I assisted during every kind of emergency surgery. I worked in the emergency room and pediatrics and, all over the shop there. I did that for a couple of years. And always kept, for a long time in Van Halen, I was the only one who had a steady paycheck. And then I realized the girls thought it was romantic that, I worked in something like that.
Always the ulterior
combination
motive.
of those two things, those two motivating factors, always stuck with me. And I always kept my hand in. Behind the scenes, as far as, outdoor stuff, like going camping and climbing, that somebody should know what to do. So I'll take a 1 week course, or something like that. And, then a couple of things happened that really quickened my spirit for, putting on the uniform. The first, and probably the most clearly evident, was that after I finished with Van Halen, on my first album, I rebuilt the pediatrics ward where we used to hang out, and put in a lifetime supply of ice cream in an industrial freezer for the kids, because I used to bum ice creams off the night nurse at 2 a.m. You follow the thinking, etc.
Sure.
At some point around mid-90s, right around there, earlier 90s, it was grunge and it was Kurt Cobain. And I went from, I don't know, we'll say 20,000 people to 2,000 people. And playing those size venues. I never did stop playing. But, you will be doomed to wander through the Tina Turner desert for X amount of years. The Frank Sinatra, the Emptiness, all the great artists, the Rod Stewart, vastness. Everybody has to go through that if you're going to last 30, 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
And I was no longer able to make a contribution, and that's the key word in my family, with my pocketbook. Well, I can still lift pretty heavy things. I still have an interest in, getting out amongst folks, and that kind of energy, was something I was familiar with, grew up around it. What kind of a kid becomes a cop? Usually one whose dad was a cop. What kind of kid runs into a burning building with a fire hat on? The one whose dad was. And, on and on, So I grew up around that element as well. And also, in the little bit towards the late 80s, somebody tried to kidnap my father with a loaded pistol. Whoa. And that kind of really brought into focus the combat part of being a combat hippie.
Was it random, or were they targeting him, or was it a random thing?
It was targeting, and he was going to go put him in the trunk, and he was going to give me a call, and the guy turned out to have a history. Yeah, he was going to ransom Pop, and age is an interesting thing in my family. Pop had just gotten his black belt. He was almost 58 years old. He was about as old as I am now, but he'd just gotten his black belt. And a fellow walked into his office, opened up a briefcase looking very serious and everything, and said, "I'm from the state. I need to speak with you. I need you to sign some papers. There's a lawsuit or something," whatever. He went into the back room of his doctor's office in very, middle of nowhere, Southern California, pulled out a loaded pistol and said to him, "Okay, I'm going to tie you up. We're going to put you in the trunk of the car. I know that this is the back door here." Wow. Pop started talking him loose, verbal judo, we call it in the trucks, Hey, relax. Nurses come out here, burst through that door all the time. Just relax. I'll do whatever. Hit him. Oh, yeah. he goes, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Put his lights right off and took off out the back door. Guy gets away. Pop is now at the house with bodyguards and FBI and and everybody hanging around. My house now looks like the Berlin Wall, with the lights and the dogs and the guys going up and down the
walking the perimeter,
the walkway, exactly. Which sounds like fun, but it's a little scary. These are nutcases, and this is before there's really cell phones and any kind of real interactive media. You're much more separated from
you're
each
alone.
other. Yeah. And they caught the guy, and they put him in lockup in little old Pasadena, which, keep in mind, this is the 80s, very different time and place, because it's overbooked at the Central Jail. He stays in the drunk tank for month after month after month, right? And he's talking craziness. This guy's nutcase. He's claiming to people, that David Lee Roth is a close personal friend, but I stole his girlfriend, Elizabeth Taylor, and that I telepathically robbed his mind for lyrics, and that I now owe him telepathic money. Literally, this all came back in questionnaire form when he's moving from the police station, and in total cowboy fashion, yes, things are different today. Count back to the late 80s, 1986, 87 in there. He's being walked out by two cops from the front door of the police station, and two of his lowrider buddies bust him free at gunpoint.
Wow.
Put him in the back of a lowered whatever and go around the corner and take off. This is how it was described to me. Okay.
Jesus.
So he's now back at large. The lights come back on. The dogs are re-rented.
Holy fuck! What a crazy ass.
Yeah, you're now confronted with, how do you protect yourself? How are you going to arm yourself?
Yeah.
Or do you go Godfather and just hire a whole bunch of strangers who are going to sleep on the job at the gate? I'm sorry, Mr. Corleone says nobody leaves the property. We'll get you your groceries now.
Go to the mattresses.
Exactly. Like this. About a month later, they caught the guy again, and he got into a gunfight with Los Angeles PD, and he died in a firefight underneath a parked car.
Losing into that, huh?
Well, now here comes the credits and the outtakes when I turn to my dad and I go, "I'm thinking about taking some shooting lessons."
Yeah.
What about you? He's going, I'm thinking about carrying conceal. I'm thinking about learning to shoot anything that comes in black. And he's going, me too.
Wow. What's really scary is that this crazy guy actually convinced 2 other people to break him out of jail. That's what's even scarier to me.
Yeah, right?
Like that he's that nuts, you figured nobody would listen to him, but he had 2 friends that are like, all right, we'll
he
meet
found
you.
2.
Yeah.
You know,
being that popular a guy over the course of the years, you must have had other instances where you directly were the target of some, people that might not have wanted to.
Well, you get threats and invective, and particularly on the internet, or somebody throws something over the gate, But it was those two experiences really that just says, hey, you know what? This could be a good thing. I feel a kinship with all of my instructors and everybody that I work with there. I grew up around that in the medical field as well as the martial arts field. I now have an extra desire to be part of that community after, my pop's experience, whatever. Spent extra amounts of time then, going to the shooting range.
Did you ever get a concealed carry?
Nope.
No, huh?
No, don't. But I do know how to shoot pretty much anything that comes in black.
Yeah. That's
so maybe the guy just wanted like a signed 8x10 headshot. He's a big fan. That. You personalize it to him.
So that led to the EMS
control.
Send him a T-shirt.
Part of it.
Yeah. Huh.
That's very interesting, man. I guess that's the downside. And when you were doing this, I want to ask you too. When you were talking about doing 2,000 people from 20, were you able to kind of keep it in a positive way? Like, look, at least I'm working, or was it like? Did you feel was it hard and embarrassing, or were you like, fuck it, man, at least I got a gig?
Oh, that'll make you look in the mirror and confront exactly everything you don't want to confront.
Oh shit!
Mirror, mirror on the bathroom sink. Really? I used to say my shit didn't stink. You bitch.
Wow.
Did you ever? You'd love to think someone handles it more philosophically, and it's like, well, look at that. But you know what? Human nature is fuck, man.
I saw Dave in those little venues. I'm like, all right, he's cool with it.
Yeah.
Did you ever run out of money?
No, but I did have to stay working, and stay on a constant diet of, playing state fairs and casinos, clubs, theaters, etc. You know what, though? I do miss those state fairs.
Yeah.
Those are a hoot. That's a state fair word.
Yeah.
You know what you get is state fairs they have stock contests and rodeos and motor pop sports, turbo pop, I call it, anything like bog races, boat races,
demo derbies, and
exactly,
things like that,
tractor pulls, and what. Those are celebrations of noise, man. There really isn't anything to watch.
Shit,
it just sounds great, man. Until something blows up and some little hayseed stands up with a football helmet, and pumps his arms in Italian style a couple times.
I've been to a couple of them. They're hilarious like that. You're right.
Exactly.
Yeah. You know how to live. Lee Roth knows how to
Very
live.
full life.
Fuck yeah.
But you know what you get is you'll get a knock at the tour bus door, and it'll be a husband and wife. He'll be dressed like me with bib overalls, you follow, and she'll be wearing something cotton, whatever, and they'll be holding 2 bags of fresh roasted corn that they picked off their farm. And that's what they want to trade for an autograph.
Oh, shit.
Routinely, you run into stuff like this. Dave, we run the Something Shack over there, and we do barbecue, and we're here every summer, and we do these 3 other state fairs, and we would like to trade with you, and they'll give you barbecue ribs and all that stuff. And that's what they'll trade for the autographs and whatever.
Very cool.
And the sights and the sounds of that when you stand on the stage, because you can always see the Ferris wheel and the noise and the lights and everything, and every place is different. It becomes an adventure. Each place smells a little different, and you get to see things like most folks, they treat their livestock like family members.
Yeah.
You have a 400-pound cow that's laying on its side there, and the family is sitting within inches of it like they're all at a picnic together. That's just Aunt Edna.
They're brushing it and friggin' shining its teeth. And
sitting within inches of it like it's the family dog.
No
you know
kidding.
how the dog dog sits around home and hearth and whatever, and you'll see them with prize bulls and prize horses and prize sheep and whatnot. You know, and it's a whole different kind of world. But the smells of it and the sights and sounds, because everybody's cooking something. You know, you smell it on some of the street fairs up here, like when they grill up the Oreos and fry them. Have you ever had that?
Oh, yeah, we've tried them.
Oh, my God, those are great.
They're pretty good.
Those are pornography, man.
They're deep frying everything now.
Dave's done so much and just seen so much stuff. It's amazing, man.
I was just at, what do you mean what I seen? I was at the street fair somewhere on the west side last year, and I thought, I got room for some dessert, and I don't usually eat dessert, and here come two of the biggest, fattest, sweatiest guys I'd ever seen, ever. They look like
who are you with?
420 pounds a piece and laughing and having a great time. And and one of them was saying to them, no, you just got to try this. You got to try this. So I got behind them. I figured whatever they're going to try is going to be pretty good. Right? I'll at least want seconds. You know?
I know what they're talking about.
Clearly. So I followed them, and they went right to the fried up Oreos thing. What is that? I call it tempura now, but it's, what do you call it?
Oh, tempura, right.
Well, it's the same stuff.
Deep fry it.
That's all tempura is. You know, tempura is not Japanese.
No.
The Dutch taught them how to do that.
Oh, really?
That's what you do for when you have bad meat or the seafood went bad. Just fry it up. It'll be okay. Yeah, Japanese didn't
know that.
Oh, I thought they did. Learning shit here today.
Tonight on History for All the Wrong Reasons.
So at that time when you were, it's also interesting. Did you ever doubt yourself? Like, did you say I should change to adjust to what grunge is doing, or were you like, no, what I do is real and it's good? Or was there ever that point where you're like, just because I know how I get as a performer, when I see something working and I'm like, if I'm not doing what I want to do, I start to feel like, fuck, I'm not doing it right.
At that point, is a good point. At that point in my life, I had finally succeeded in sounding like a 70-year-old black guy. Love now. Right? It takes that long. How am I going to now sound like a cowboy? How am I now going to sound like I'm from San Francisco or Seattle? Yep. How am I now? I have tried to sing other things, but in all honesty, I think I agree with whoever said, I think it was Stravinsky or so, that we just keep rewriting the same symphony over and over again. And that I've got one trick. It's a real nice pony. Let me walk it in here.
Would you like that stuff? Would you listen to it? 'Cause, like, I don't watch other comics at all. I have no interest because I don't want to see what I'm missing. And is it like that for you as a singer? Will you like listen to the newer music and just go like, fuck, I wish I had thought of that, or just go like, I don't want to hear it?
I don't listen to rock and roll pretty much. I listen to R&B. I listen to country. I listen to blues. I listen to electronica. What else am I dialing through here? A lot of Spanish-speaking stuff. Reggae on the way home. Just whether it's research or whether I'm actually tapping my foot. You know, going boo is just as much or more fun than yay. You know, just I speak to the radio a lot. It sounds a lot like that. You know, I do speak to the television screen, particularly when alone or with the dog. You know, the dog used to think I was yelling at him.
Right.
So it seems like you pretty much. We always have like weird bands opening for Van Halen. It's not like Dokken, which would kind of make sense. Something like maybe another hard rock band, like Ziggy Marley, Bob Marley's son, did the tour in like 2007. And last time you guys came around, Kool and the Gang were the openers.
Yes. Well, wait. Think about the audience from the audience's perspective. For example, when I got fired from doing radio here in the city, you know, one of their biggest complaints was that I was playing too much ethnic music, which means black or Spanish speaking. And what I'd done is I'd taken the loops of intros from Bob Marley songs before the vocals come in, just looped it for 10 minutes and talked over it. So just as we were talking now, you'd hear in the background, like we were at a cool little bar somewhere way south of here, you know, with the palapa and salt water and, you know, like you would hear in the background.
Cool.
In any Jamaican pool bar, whatever, like
love
this.
Those.
Exactly. And I said, don't you realize Bob Marley is the sound of white people on vacation?
God, is that the best?
What are we pretending?
Everyone knows Bob Marley in the
Everybody
end.
knows that.
So right. God, you're
That's
so
fucking
right.
great, yeah.
Like, what are we pretending to not know here?
Oh, that's great.
And I can say that in Japanese.
But
What are we pretending to not know here?
I never understood radio just separating the music, so you bring up a very good point there.
It is true, because I'll tell you, a lot of the guys that went to the Van Halen show last time were like, Kool and the Gang open. You're like, Kool and the Gang, and you go in and you see them, like, they were really good. You're like, all right, I know these cool. I know these songs.
Yeah. Of course you know the songs.
So when you get in there, it's not that weird at all.
Right.
It was what you would go to at the after party. You finish listening to heavy over-the-head rock. At the after party, you would expect something like that. Something that's a little more dame-friendly. Something that's got a little less spillage to the open beverage containers. You follow? Something that you have to raise your voice to speak to each other, but you don't have to holler like over an Eddie Solo. You follow? And Kool and the Gang is the sound of white people getting married. Kool and the Gang is the sound of white people graduating high school and graduating college. Do you follow what I'm saying?
Right.
Think about it. They've probably sold more records than we ever will. They're played easily in more venues than we will ever be. Just think of all the places that you would hear.
Everyone knows them. Everyone.
And it's one of those things where even if you are as rustic, as distant to that music as you can possibly be, it's your old lady's going to go, oh, I love this song, and grab you by the wrist and yank you up out of the seat.
Yeah.
And you see places where it's just really hardcore rock audience like Detroit. They moved all the chairs into a pile in the center so they could dance. And everybody there is, what's the we roll on a Rolling Stones kind of age group now. Springsteen, whatever, we're in our 40s and 50s and whatnot. And the only thing missing was the dance lines. Guys on the left, girls on the right. One person each dance down the middle. But everybody got righteously crazy to it. And we would just continue to break the drinking records before the band.
Yet again.
Well, it was like I invited you to a house party and said, come on down. We're gonna play some songs with Van Halen and stuff. And you showed up, and for our derps, we had Kool in the Gang. Hey, have fun.
One of the oddest things.
We'll be out in an hour. Have fun. Whoa!
One of the oddest things growing up and listening to Van Halen and then learning more about you was what you liked as far as music and what you grew up singing and listening to. Because I was always under the impression, well, he obviously is a rock and roller that listened to, just basic rock. Yeah, Zeppelin, The Who, and any of that. Sabbath, of course. But then to find out that you were so influenced by Motown, and then it made sense when you listened to your voice and the way you sang and how you put that type of vocals together with the Van Halen's rock music, then it made sense. But before that, I had no clue that you were brought up on that type of ethnic music, as they say.
There you go. And now when you see it, you can't take your eyes
right
from
now, you completely see it every time. Yeah.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Also, one thing that when I was really young, and I'll tell you two funny stories about Earth, Wind, and Fire. In fact, I'll tell you the first one. It was with Edward and I. You wonder where some of the conflict comes from. Is I was always pitching him, my sisters and I went through the integrated busing program. He went to the all-white schools, and I kept saying, there is a great new band. You got to hear them. They're called Earth, Wind, and Fire, and they're really popular. Okay, and this was before they became a wedding band.
Huge.
Like you would hear in September, you're going to hear that at every bar mitzvah, every graduate. Exactly.
Yeah, you remember. Yeah, I like a bunch of Earth, Wind, and Fire songs.
Bingo! It is the sound of.
But you don't tell anyone you like it.
Right. Just fill it in. We would have had them if we could have afforded it. The name came them up more than twice. Believe me. And they were brand new. It was like 1975. And, keep in mind what Eddie and I looked like with the hair down here, with the part in the middle and hands permanently in the pockets, boxer shorts, et cetera. Camel filters crushed up in the pocket of your Pendleton shirt. And we were the only two Caucasian faces in the entire forum. That's 22,000 people, 22,000 of our closest friends. Earth Wind has just now started to break international market, but it's an all-black audience. Eddie and I sit up in the peanut gallery in the nosebleed seats. We watch this show. I think you really enjoyed this show. At that point in our career, we were talking. So we waited, because we knew traffic was going to be heavy duty. We've been to a lot of shows there for other bands. And we waited until there was just, most of the people were gone. We come walking out in the parking lot. There's almost no cars. One little, Opel Cadet station wagon. It looks like somebody drew it against the background. It's a cartoon. And as we come up, a hoodie. African-American kid with a hoodie comes on. He's got his hand in his pocket. He goes, "Yo, give me your money, y'all." And I looked at Ed, and Ed looked at me, and I went, "Do we look like we have any money?" Nah. Eddie has never been to another show with me.
Motherfucker, what are you doing to me?
Coffee since then. I don't know if it's connected. I'd love to think it is.
Well, you should have left with the crowd. That was the mistake you made, was leaving late.
Yeah, right.
You should have filed out and just walked behind a group of black people and acted like you were talking to them and just fucking stuck in the car.
Live and learn.
Yeah, no shit.
Did you guys have a lot of black fans? Because Chris Rock was at the Cellar one night around that time, just raving about he lives fucking Van Halen. And did you have a large amount of black fans or?
Well, we have a variety of neighborhoods. I always called it neighborhoods, and we had a song selection that went to each neighborhood. Because if you were going to play to Spanish speaking, like if you had a graduation party or one of the lowrider gangs had a party, whatever, then you had to play Santana, you had to play Suavecito, you had to play a whole list of songs, that were Spanish speaking, Spanish oriented. Evil Ways, Black Magic Woman,
nice.
And you can hear these elements and stuff like Dance the Night Away, those flavors. Oh, wait a minute, I taste something Spanish in this. Wait, some chiles. Yeah, coño, man. I spent some time in L.A., I see.
Yeah, Dance the Night Away really does have it. I'm running it through my head, and I'm thinking, fuck, that is kind of a Spanish sound.
Yeah, and it's got the what you call the cowbell and so forth that's mixed in there. But that was a different kind of Spanish stuff than when you played for the Tejano weddings and stuff. And these are the fellas who wear these straw cowboy hats and the shiny cowboy boots to Fridays and Saturday nights. And that would be a little more like Ricky Ricardo style, which would be like Jamie's Crime. If you think about it, that's Hey Lucy, that's rumba or whatever. It's a different kind of groove, and you couldn't serve one to one group and one to the other. The bikers out in San Bernardino, they were all Hell's Angels, so you could only play Born to Be Wild and ZZ Top. You follow? Aerosmith, for them, that was a little gay. You saved no. You had to save that for the Venice Beach Surf and Hollywood. That would connect up to Hollywood. Do you follow? Because they were flashier. Do you dig? And you had to have musical diets for each different neighborhood. Okay, when we would play black, oh man, we played nothing but It's Your Thing. We'd play Isley Brothers. We would play Earth Wind. We would play even KC Sunshine Band. We'd play FOP. That was Ohio Players. The list was long, and we didn't have any keyboards or any of that stuff, so we had to perfect vocals and a lot of professional BSing during the show. Sure. So in a lot of Van Halen songs, you hear the quiet part that's in the middle of the song. That's so we can break it down, and I can go, all right, fellas, bring it down here for a second.
And you guys used to also...
I want to dedicate this next song
to ladies.
To everybody here tonight.
You guys used to also do like wet T-shirt contests during those...
Who's ever been to a wet T-shirt contest?
But then you guys would do them in your sets?
Oh, yeah.
Like order sets to kill time?
There was only one place to do the wet T-shirt contest, okay? This was very famous. I don't know if you fellas are friends with Ricky Ratchman from Headbangers Ball.
Yeah, we know who he is, yeah.
Rick's father was... excuse me if I get this inaccurately, was a biker and a mechanic and owned an auto shop, whatever, for bikes, etc. in the mid-early 70s. Owned a place called the Rock Corporation. And wet T-shirt contests were not everywhere. They were at this one place, and this is the place that kept getting busted, like Lenny Bruce style, you dig? They kept getting busted, and this is where the case was tried. Wow. And then it came, and the deliverance was allowed that you could have wet T-shirt contests. It was a biker bar. And on Wednesday nights, the Van Nuys cruise was 5 miles long. I mean, I don't mean you wait 5 minutes. I mean, if you sat in one place, it would take you probably an hour and a half to watch every car go by one way. And you never just went one way. You went all the way to the end, turn around at the mobile station and come back and do long, slow loops. And right smack in the middle of it was this beer bar. It was an old ice house place, so it was all bricks, red bricks. And they built a stage that wasn't much taller than our table here. I'm going to say 3.5 feet up. And they served Schlitz malt liquor by the pole, like by the pitcher, which was the only place that did that. And they would have wet T-shirt contests every Wednesday night. We were the house band at that point. And they would bolt the doors closed, big fire trap, and pull the kiddies pool, like you blow it up, with air, and it's like a big tire. And some bikers would blow that up and then pull it in front of the stage. And they'd say, we're going to close the bar in 5 minutes. We're going to play one more song. We'd play, I don't know, Come On, Take a Free Ride or Smoke on the Water or whatever. And everybody would run to the bar like, Koreans at a McDonald's and get their big pitchers of Schlitz malt liquor and come back. Then get to the tables and we'd start the contest. And you'd think that because this was new or whatever, that that people were, be resistant. No, there'd be 20 and 30 girls just dying to get into the contest. Yeah. And they'd step into the pool. I'd roll my pants up, and this is where I started to work out my spiel, of, hi, what's your name? Tina. Where are you from, Tina? You from the valley? Well, they do a lot of Quaaludes in the valley. Make Quaalude jokes for 10 minutes.
And you're standing in the pool?
Yeah. I mean, they're great ingredients, no matter how you mix them up, they come out all right. And I would stand in the pool and interview the girl, and then she would, of course, be wearing a Rock Corporation T-shirt, and two of the big bikers, would wrench the T-shirt tight as it could be, and two more would dump ice cold water, and her tits would pop out, and she would dance to whatever segment. And what song would you like to hear? I'd like to hear Free Ride. Al, this young lady wants to take a free ride. We would play it like a radio band, and do, whatever, 1 minute's worth, gauging upon the audience glee. And the girls would go through, we'd get all 20 through, and then we would have the obligatory meeting. The owners would come over, we would talk, we would rub our foreheads, we would look up, look at the audience, go back into the huddle, rub more foreheads, pull air like a... Yeah. And then I'd come out and go, ladies and gentlemen, I guess it's unfortunate, but it's fortunate in an unfortunate kind of way. Some of our judges have disappeared. Some of our judges are drunk, and we're going to have to run them all through again. And we'd open the bar up. Everybody would run back to the bar with their pitchers, open the doors, air the place out for 20 minutes, and then run them all through again.
No kidding.
And we got busted a number of times for this. Undercover cops were in there. The police would pull up with the wagons out front.
So you got arrested?
No, we would always be on the band stage, and we would wait and say, "Hey, no, we're hirelings. We're not part of this. We don't promote this, and whatever." And it went to court. I guess a little bit like the dispensary system in Los Angeles is going around its gray zone. It's not. It's black and white. It's who knows. So it's in and out of courts. And I guess it it was in the same status then that is now. You know, it was in courts, and I remember it for about 2-3 years, and then finally, hallelujah, everybody can have a wet T-shirt contest.
Yeah, wow.
And they started having them at weddings. You know,
pretty much. It didn't usher in the end of the world. It was wonderful.
They started having Hanukkah things. I don't know.
That was where Lenny went to court too. That was where Lenny Bruce got arrested, or where he fought it.
No, well, Lenny got he was like in the early '60s. I think it might have even been New York. Was it New York or San Francisco clubs? You know,
San Francisco
he was
got
swearing
him.
and talking about racial issues.
Right. Yeah,
and,
same gist,
the same
obscenity
thing,
and things like that.
It was always being in the same place. It wasn't like there were a whole lot of fellas doing that kind of work.
Right.
It was just him. So when you talk about wet T-shirt contest, that's so familiar now. That's a part of Americana.
Yeah.
Just like the Soul Train dance line. All the guys line up on the right, all the ladies on the left, and then you take turns dancing one at a time down the middle, and the fat lady will always win.
Yeah.
You know about, but that was a big deal at the time. That was a big routine.
Yeah. And it's so odd. Something that was considered so controversial and just obscene. It's just commonplace now.
Well, now it is commonplace.
Think about it. From what you could see on the internet, it's not
no
very
one's going to go to a bar, go to a wet T-shirt. Let's go hang out.
That's spring break stuff. It's not even censored anymore. You can see that on MTV.
Right,
that's considered a, even the T-shirt obscures.
Unless animals are involved.
At some point.
How much ass were you getting house band in the one place that can do wet T-shirt contests? You must have been fucking 4 girls a night.
Oh, it was a great time. Are you kidding? There were many times that I would lend my car to somebody and get dropped off, and I would have to hitchhike from cities away. I would wake up in some strange girl's apartment building or her house in the back and say, "Who's that up front?" "Oh, that's my dad." "Oh, my God.
This was a great idea last night. Now there's
not so much right now.
Got a long way home.
You know what? I still stay in touch with a lot of those gals. Now,
really?
Oh, yeah. As opposed to the traditional rock and roll, be abusive to your groupies. No, I always treated my girlfriends like gold. Are you kidding? Some of them are on their second and third husbands at this point in time.
They still got Dave out there for them.
They send that we get emails in advance of exactly where they're going to be sitting and what they're going to be wearing.
Oh, wow. So you're like a saver.
You now have the whole voter block, the Stairmaster Nation. This did not exist in the late 70s or even the 80s, You got a whole voter block of women who are in their 40s and even some in their 50s who look way younger than that. And then, they've been the full circle around getting married and having kids, and they come around all the way back around to, I want to do what you do.
How do you think the husbands must feel, though? Oh yeah, I used to, hang out with Dave Lee Roth back in the day, and I'm a plumber now. Yeah, he hooked us up with tickets. He's got to be sitting there like that guy.
Fuck that,
my
we're not
wife.
going. Fuck that.
I know.
He's just blasting, I can't drive 55.
Cruel.
Fuck him.
Did you and Sammy Hagar ever get along?
No. Well, define long.
Well, they did a tour together. They toured together.
Oh, that's right. You guys did do that whole thing, the tour
the
together.
Sam and Dave thing, yeah.
There was a collision course there as well.
Oh, shit.
Yes. Sam has been, I think Sam has been, I'm not going to go there.
No.
We had our antagonisms,
Yeah.
but...
Do you think it was more a personality thing or just circumstantial? You were Dave from here and he was Sammy from here? Or was it because genuinely as people, or was it just kind of, situational?
I think it was probably his people.
Really? Yeah.
I didn't expect the competition.
Right.
I expected, that we would go our own way because, we were eminently familiar with, the Stones have had change-ups, the Who have had change-ups, a long list of people have dignified change-up. And I think our change-up was dignified until various managers and agents and, a whole lot of other faces and players.
Oh, they will fucking ruin things.
Yes, got involved.
Yeah.
But the end of the story, the verification of that is that the brothers and I get along quite well at this point, albeit like an unhappy family. But we're never far away from each other.
You could be in the same room these days.
Oh, yeah. And when we do rehearse now, we rehearse small. That's part of why we did the Cafe Wah, is we rehearsed at the Roxy Club, which the stage is not too much longer than what you have going here. And I found that, when you're putting together the show and you're doing the routine, then it's better to have your band within shoulder distance. It's a lot harder to hate somebody from 2 feet away.
When he's on another wing of the stage. Yeah. Jimmy just looked at me and said, "No, it's not."
It was at the Cafe Wah show. It's funny because Dave likes to tell his stories, and it was his night because he basically grew up there. So usually when Dave would tell his stories at the big, arenas, the guys would go off the stage, have a beer, drink, towel off, but they had to stand there on the stage. You could just see them like, all right, can we, all right,
can we move along?
Yeah, I remember Wolfie at one point hit his bass, and Dave's like, "Hey, hold on, son, I'm not done." He's like,
shit.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Yeah, it's a whole different dynamic. We talked about the Japanese audience and playing a club audience. As soon as you walk off from that stage, the first thing you're going to say is, "Great, now I'm ready to play this show." Can you follow the thinking? It's like, oh, man, now that we've done this one thing, now I really know what to do. Now I know how to set up for a smaller gig. Or the first time you do the big gig, you go, oh, that's right, I got to remember to do this, or that this doesn't work, or that doesn't work.
Yeah.
And, what you were seeing was the beginnings of playing tight. We stayed just about that close to each other when we were on the actual big stage as well, as opposed to spread out. It becomes we're a club act. We're a club band. We started off in smoky, dirty little clubs, with low ceilings that sweated. And
it's got to be amazing that it'll look a half a arena away at your guitar player to your right, like, hey, what's going on by the giant PA?
Well, yeah, and you're also encouraged to do things you may not be familiar with doing. As soon as you see somebody running, that means they've run out of ideas.
Really? The big run, like the jaunt across the stage, the big run?
Yeah. You save it for the end with the victory laurel and the big crimson flag and, the 2 torches, and the white horse behind you. Save it for the end, Manny. Now, think about
great.
it.
You see it all the time, right?
Yeah. You see a beeline from one side to the other. Right for these, it means that's somebody who doesn't know what to do.
Raise your arms to the audience that's over there.
Yeah, exactly.
Now the other side of the stage.
Yep, and then you see, when you see a musician completely with their hands in the air all the time in the kind of a cheerleading thing, I call that tits and pits. Okay, because that's what you see.
Sweaty guys and big tits.
Tits and pits. And it looks the same from both the audience and the stage. About 4 acres of tits and pits.
Fucking David Lee Roth.
Who do you consider to be a great frontman? Like, who do you consider to be a great frontman?
Well, wait, let's try. We can decide this together once I finish the second half of the idea. When it's all tits and pits, that's from the waist up, and that's aimed at a certain kind of audience. When it's all from the waist down, and little Elvis is in the house tonight, then... Yes, I named my dick. And little Elvis is leading the way. That's a whole different neighborhood than you're aiming at. So when you see, for example, Ozzy is tits and pits. All right now, Sharon! You get your arms up, and it's great. Great way to make a living.
Right.
You'll almost never see me doing that. For me, it's all from the waist down. Do you think I wear yellow anything for guys? Look me in the eye and just fuck with me, man. I'm giving you your shot.
Dave, would that distract you? Like when
I think I wear sparkle. Anything for dudes. Here's your chin.
Assless chaps.
Fucking brilliant.
Your assless chaps you didn't wear for the guys?
No. Nice try. You get a freebie.
Dave, would it distract you when I would be at a bunch of Van Halen shows with girls who whip their tits out while you're performing? Like, did that throw you off? Looking at that, take you out of the moment?
Well, when it was beginning, then it was great. Then when it becomes just the fashion, then it's no longer like downtown. Then it's no longer. It's like when the wet T-shirt contest was better when it was illegal.
Right.
You know.
Then it's just commonplace.
Yeah,
it's there
and
every time.
Something that we just do this like hand signs, for example. Nah, you know that ego thing kicks in. If it says, well, if you're doing it just for me, then it's special, then it's unique, then it's cool. But if you're doing this for every act that comes through town, then I should be able to solicit an even bigger reaction.
Her tits got stickers on it like a packet crate. Fucking all different destinations. Come on.
The back of one of those station wagons, right?
Yeah.
All the
places.
Motley Crue is here.
Stickers.
Yeah, I don't like when girls show their tits. I'm like, they should take her out of here. That's just no reason for that.
That's right, Jimmy. You tell her.
I don't go for that. I'm here to have a good time, for Pete's sake.
We just went 2 hours with David Lee Roth.
Fucking great, man.
Amazing.
Man, look at the time.
2 hours?
We just did 2 hours with you.
Like 2 hours.
We decided, fuck it, we're not going to break.
That was fast, man.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great.
Cool.
That's super.
What a blast.
It was amazing.
Thank you so much.
What
Likewise.
a fucking blast to have you in here.
It was amazing. We loved it.
Let's not be strangers.
Our show
You're,
is ending,
town.
too.
It's great.
Dave, one more question. Sure. Where do you call home? I mean, right now it's Tokyo, but do you have an actual fucking homestead?
New York.
Yeah.
So I'm uptown.
So you keep coming back to New York?
I have a 646 area code.
Oh, okay.
For a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm bicycle distance from here.
Yeah.
That's great, man. Fucking what a blast.
Let's plug to Tokyo High Power Style Radio Show. It's on davidleeroth.com. And The Roth Show you can see on youtube.com/The Roth Show. And just at David Lee Roth on
Then it's
Twitter.
also a podcast. You can get it on iTunes.
Which, both of them?
The video is also audio. So you can, if you don't have the video, you can listen to the audio.
Very cool, yeah.
Vice versa. And then Van Halen's doing a date in the U.S. in July, some kind of festival in Wisconsin.
Yes, I think it's July 20th.
So maybe some other dates in the U.S. this year, possibly?
You know what, in terms of booking ahead of time, no. I'm frankly surprised that these happened now. I think probably they had designs on somebody else and somebody else got sick or somebody else because, we're kind of here to save the day. These are big shows. These are like 50, 70,000 person shows. And they're just coming together fast, which says probably somebody else bowed out or somebody else took ill, So nothing this year. We're going to be playing Europe and, all probably 50, 60 shows outside of the States starting at the end of this year. And then come back around through the United States. Van Halen is like, it's very pure and uncut kind of music. It's lead bass, drums, and howling at the moon. And it's a little bit like getting drunk on shots of just really good, Kentucky bourbon. It's like you'll have a great night, but you probably won't want to see us again for 3 years. You won't want to see that bottle.
Fucking great, man.
With that, we got to thank David Lee Roth. I got to say, this was a pleasure for us, man. We loved this. Thank you so much, sir.
Love it.
And we'll have you back if you'll come back.
You bet.
Florentine, you got Levity Live this weekend, March 14th through the 17th.
And then Stress Factory the weekend after, and Cincinnati, Columbus, Ohio week after. JimFlorentine.com.
I got Leno. I'm on Leno tomorrow, and I got Toledo Funny Bone this Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But I'm back Wednesday morning.
Nice. All right.
And Dave will be on my Boneyard show tonight.
Oh, very cool.
I got blisters on my fingers.
Yeah. All right, we're out of here, man. Enjoy your day.